Welcome in and let yourself settle. There's nowhere else you need to be right now. Nothing you have to fix or finish or figure out. You've made it to the end of another day, and honestly, that's enough. That's more than enough. So go ahead and get comfortable. Sink a little deeper into your pillow. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears and take one slow breath in and let it go, nice and easy. Tonight, we're going to drift together out onto the ocean. Not a stormy one, not a dramatic one, just the quiet, endless, gently breathing sea. The kind that rocks you without asking anything of you. And along the way, I'm going to share some of the softest, most soothing facts about the water that covers most of our world. Little pieces of dreamy science whispered slowly, so your mind has something calm to rest on while the rest of you lets go. Here's the thing about the ocean. It's the biggest, oldest, most patient thing on this whole planet, and it has been rolling and sighing and turning over on itself for longer than we can really imagine. It doesn't rush. It never has. And that's exactly the feeling I want you to borrow tonight. Slow, unhurried, certain that everything will still be here in the morning. Before we push off from the shore, let me just say a quiet thank you for being here. If these calm little journeys help you soften into sleep, it would mean the world if you gently tap the like button and maybe subscribe so we can keep drifting off together, night after night. No rush, no pressure. You can do it now while your hands still feel awake, or later, whenever it suits you. Because that's the whole reason this little corner of the world exists, to help quiet the noise and ease you down into rest, one sleepy soul at a time. That's the promise, one sleepy soul at a time. And tonight, that soul is you. So let's begin the way every good ocean story begins. At the very edge of the water, picture yourself standing on a soft stretch of sand, somewhere warm, somewhere safe. The light is low and golden, the way it gets when the day has finally decided to let go. The sun is somewhere behind you, sinking slowly, painting everything in that sleepy amber glow. And in front of you stretches the sea, just water, meeting sky, all the way out to a horizon so far away, it seems to curve with the shape of the earth itself. You can hear it before you even step closer. That sound, you know the one. The long, slow hush of a wave rolling up the sand, and then the softer sigh as it slides back down again. In and out. In and out. It's almost as if the whole ocean is breathing, and if you listen for just a moment, you might notice your own breath starting to match its rhythm. There's no effort in it. It just happens, the way the tide just happens, gently, on its own quiet schedule. And here's a soft little truth to rest on. That rhythm you're hearing, that endless push and pull of the tide, it isn't random at all. It's the moon hanging up there so far away, reaching down across all that empty space and gently tugging on the water, nearly 400,000 kilometers away. And still, somehow, it lifts the entire ocean, ever so slightly, and lets it fall again. Twice a day, every day, without fail, for billions of years. Nobody winds it up. Nobody sets an alarm. The moon just keeps pulling, and the sea just keeps answering. In this slow, faithful conversation that has been going on since long, long before any of us arrived. Isn't that a soothing thought? That somewhere above the clouds, the moon is quietly rocking the whole ocean like a cradle. And tonight, in your own way, You get to be rocked right along with it. Let your feet sink just a little into the cool, damp sand. Feel how it holds you. There's something about the edge of the sea that makes worries feel smaller. Maybe it's the size of it. Maybe it's the sound. Or maybe it's just that the ocean has seen so many days come and go that it can't be bothered to hurry. And standing near it, neither can you. Take another slow breath here. In through your nose, gently, and out through your mouth, slower still. Let that out-breath be longer than the in-breath. That's the little secret the sea already knows. The letting go is always the restful part. Now, I want you to know, there's no need to follow every word tonight. None at all. My voice is just here to be a soft blanket of sound, something warm and low for your thoughts to curl up against. If your mind wanders off, that's perfectly fine. If you drift away before we even reach the deep water, that's the whole point. You don't have to reach the end. You don't have to remember a single fact. You just have to rest. Because the truth is, the ocean isn't going anywhere. It has all the time in the world. And so, for the next little while, do you? Let's talk, softly, about just how much water we're talking about. When you stand on the beach and look out, you're only seeing the very smallest sliver of it, a thin blue line at the surface. But the sea covers more than 7/10 of our entire planet, more than 7 parts in 10. If you could somehow lift away from the earth and look down from up high, you wouldn't really see a world of countries and cities and roads. You'd see water, a great, glowing, blue and white marble, wrapped almost all the way around an ocean, with just a few patches of land poking through like islands in an enormous, gentle bath. That's why, from far out in space, our home has been called the pale blue dot. Blue because of all this water. All of it connected too. That's another soft thing to hold on to. There isn't really such a thing as separate oceans, not deep down. The Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, the cold, quiet waters at the top and bottom of the world. They all flow into one another. One single, enormous, unbroken body of water, wrapping the whole planet in one slow, endless embrace. You could set a little paper boat adrift right here at your feet, and in theory, given enough years and enough patience, it could touch nearly every shore on Earth. The water never truly stops moving. It just goes slowly, so very slowly, and it's old. Oh, it's old. The water lapping at your toes tonight has been here, in one form or another, for billions of years. It has been a cloud, and rain, and a river, and a snowflake, and a puddle, and a wave, over and over and over again, in a cycle so patient it makes a human lifetime feel like a single blink. The very same water that dinosaurs once waded through. The same water that filled ancient seas long before any creature ever crawled onto land. It's all still here. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. It simply changes shape again and again and carries on. There's something deeply restful in that, I think. The idea that nothing really ends out here. It just turns over, gently, and becomes something new. The wave that breaks on the sand isn't gone. It just melts back into the sea and waits its turn to rise again. Let that thought settle over you like a warm tide. Everything comes back around. There's no need to hold on so tightly. The ocean certainly doesn't. Feel yourself growing just a little heavier now. That's good. That's exactly right. Let the sand take the weight of your feet. Let the pillow take the weight of your head. Let the whole day, all of it, the things that went well and the things that didn't, just wash gently back out with the tide, out past the breakers, out into the deep, where it can dissolve away and stop being yours to carry. You don't have to solve anything tonight. You don't have to plan tomorrow. The moon will keep the tides turning whether you worry about them or not. And I promise you, the sun will find its way back up over that horizon all on its own. Your only job, right now, is to breathe and to rest, and to let my voice and the sound of the sea carry you somewhere soft. Let's stand here a moment longer, you and I, at the edge of the water, before we drift out further. Notice the little details, the way the foam gathers at the edge of each wave, white and delicate, and then quietly disappears into the sand. The way the wet part of the beach shines like polished glass, holding the last of the evening light. The way the air smells, clean and salty and cool, filling your lungs a little deeper with every slow breath. There might be a few gulls somewhere far off, calling softly, their voices growing fainter as the day winds down, and underneath it all, always, that steady hush and sigh of the sea, rolling in, slipping out, in and out, like a lullaby that was old before the first lullaby was ever sung. You know, people have been drawn to this exact feeling for as long as there have been people. Long before we understood a single thing about tides or moons or currents, our ancestors sat on shores just like this one and felt their breathing slow. There's something written deep inside us that recognizes this rhythm, something older than words. The sea speaks in a language the body understood long before the mind ever learned to. So you can trust it. You can let it in. That heaviness spreading through your arms and your legs. That softness settling behind your eyes. That's not something you have to make happen. It's something that happens to you when you finally stop resisting and let the ocean do what the ocean has always done. It calms, it smooths, it rocks the restless parts of us back to sleep. Take one more slow, deep breath with me here on the shore. Draw it all the way in. Hold it for just a heartbeat and release it, long and slow, letting your body sink a little deeper as you do. In a moment, we're going to leave the sand behind and drift out onto the water itself, gently, safely, with nothing to fear and nowhere to be. We'll float over the shallows where the light still dances, and further out, into the wide calm, where the sea grows deep and dark and unimaginably quiet. And I'll keep whispering these soft, dreamy little facts as we go, not to teach you anything, but simply to give your tired mind a warm place to rest until sleep finds you. But there's no hurry to get there. There never is out here. So for now, just stay with me on the shore. Keep breathing slow. Keep letting go. And know that wherever this journey takes you tonight, whether you drift off in the very next minute or float along with me all the way out to the horizon, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Safe and warm and gently held by the oldest, calmest, most patient thing in all the world. Let the waves keep breathing for you now. In and out. In and out. And let yourself begin to drift. And there we go. The water's around your ankles now, cool and gentle, and the sand beneath your feet has turned soft and giving. You're not walking anymore, not really. You're just letting the shallows lift you, the smallest bit, the way water always seems to want to hold whatever it touches. Let it. There's nothing to hold on to out here, and nothing you need to carry. Here's a soft little thing to rest your mind on as we float. That water around you, the very same water lapping at your skin right now, has been here almost since the beginning. Nearly all of the ocean is old beyond counting. The water didn't arrive all at once, and it isn't going anywhere. It simply moves, endlessly, in the gentlest circle you can imagine. It rises up into the sky as invisible mist, gathers into clouds, drifts over the land, falls as rain, trickles into rivers, and rolls all the way back home to the sea, around and around and around. The very drop that's cooling your skin tonight may have been a snowflake on a mountain 1,000 years ago, or a raindrop that fell on a forest before there were any people to feel it. Isn't that a lovely thought to sink into? You're being held by something that has been traveling, patiently, for longer than we can really hold in our minds. Let yourself lean back a little now. Feel the water rise to meet you, cradling the back of your head, your shoulders, the small of your back. You don't have to work to stay up. The sea does that for you. And the reason it does is soft and simple. Salt water is just a touch heavier than the water in your body, so it lifts you, the way a hand slides under a sleepy child. In some places on this earth, the water is so full of salt that a person can lie right on the surface and read a book, floating like a leaf, never sinking at all. Imagine that. A whole warm sea that simply refuses to let you go under. That's the kind of gentleness we're drifting in tonight. The light is fading now, softer and softer, and the color of the water is changing with it. Up here near the surface, where you're floating, everything is still washed in that last warm gold. But let me tell you a quiet secret about color out here, because it's one of the loveliest things the ocean does. As you go deeper, the colors slip away one by one, and they leave in a very particular order. Red is the first to go, quite near the top. Then orange, then yellow, each one fading out as you sink, like candles being blown out one at a time down a long hallway. And what's left, after all the warm colors have gone to sleep, is blue. Deep, calm, endless blue. That's the real reason the sea looks the way it does. It isn't holding the color of the sky at all. It's simply keeping the one color that reaches the furthest down, the last one still awake in the dark. So when you look out at that deep blue on a calm evening, you're really looking at the color of patience, the color that stays. Breathe that in, the blue of the deep, the one that doesn't leave. And you don't have to go down there tonight, not unless your dreams decide to take you. We're staying up here where it's warm and soft. But it's a comforting thing to know it's below us, isn't it? All that stillness. Down in the deepest parts of the ocean, far, far beneath where you're floating, the water barely moves at all. There are no waves down there, no wind, no storms. It's calm in a way that nothing up on the land ever quite manages to be. Perfectly dark, perfectly quiet, perfectly still, holding a kind of peace that has never once been broken. Some of that deep water hasn't touched the surface, hasn't seen the sky or felt the sun in over 1,000 years. Just resting, just being. A whole hidden world of calm, cradled at the bottom of everything. Let a little of that stillness rise up through the water and into you now. Feel it in your feet first, that soft, sinking heaviness, and let it move slowly up through your legs, into your hips, your belly, your chest. There's no rush, just let the calm climb, the way warmth climbs through you when you slide into a bath at the end of a long day. Out here, the sea is full of gentle rhythms, and I want to share a few more of them with you, because I think your tired mind will like resting on things that simply go on and on without ever needing you to do a thing. Think of the tide again, that slow rise and fall we talked about back on the shore. All around the world, twice a day, more or less, the water breathes in and breathes out. It comes creeping up the sand, higher and higher, and then it turns and slips away again, uncovering the shells and the smooth stones and the little pools left behind in the rocks. And it does this everywhere at once, on every shore, on every island, along every quiet cove where no one is watching. Right now, as you float here, somewhere on the other side of the world, a tide is rolling in over a beach in the dark, and somewhere else, one is sliding out under the morning sun. It never stops. It never tires. It has kept this same slow, faithful rhythm for billions of years, and it will keep it long after tonight has turned into tomorrow. You can lean your whole weight against something that's steady. And here's a thought that always softens me. The moon, that quiet pale friend hanging up there in the dark, is the one doing all this gentle pulling. It reaches across all that empty space and tugs, ever so lightly, on the water, and the whole ocean leans toward it, like a plant leaning toward a window. But the moon is drifting away from us, just a tiny bit each year, slower than a fingernail grows. And so, unimaginably long ago, when the moon hung closer and brighter in the sky, the tides were far grander than they are now, great sweeping rises and falls. Everything out here changes, but so slowly, so patiently, that the sea has all the time in the world to get used to it. There's a lesson in that, maybe, for the restless parts of us. Nothing good ever has to happen in a hurry. Let your breathing find that same unhurried pace. Slow, even, like the tide. In, and the water rises. Out, and the water falls. You don't have to think about it. Your body already knows how. It's been doing it your whole life, the same way the sea has been doing it since long before you or I were even a thought. Just let it happen. The sky above you is deepening now, the gold giving way to a soft, dusky blue, and the very first star is thinking about coming out. And here's something tender to carry with you as the light goes. The sea and the sky have always been in a quiet conversation. The sea gives its water up to the sky as mist, and the sky gives it back as rain. The moon pulls the tides, and the tides answer. The stars have guided sailors home across these very waters for thousands of years, long before there were maps or instruments of any kind. People would lie back on the deck of a small wooden boat, much like you're lying back on the water now, and read the sky like a familiar page, letting the stars carry them safely through the dark to somewhere warm. There's something so comforting in that, isn't there? That even in the middle of the widest, emptiest ocean, with no land in any direction, people have always been able to look up and find their way. You are never truly lost out here, not with the whole sky watching over you. And the ocean is far from empty, though it's beautifully quiet tonight. All around you, in every direction, life is going gently about its business in the softest possible way. Somewhere below, a sea turtle is drifting along with slow, patient strokes of its ancient flippers, the way its kind have drifted for more than 100 million years, long before there were flowers on the land, long before there were birds in the sky. It doesn't hurry. It has never once hurried. It simply glides and rests and glides again, riding the same slow currents its ancestors rode when the world was young. Picture it moving beneath you now, unbothered, unafraid, perfectly at home, and let a little of that ancient calm settle into your own bones. Further out, in the deeper water, the great whales are singing to one another. You can't hear them from up here, but they're there, filling the dark with long, low songs that travel further than you could ever imagine. A whale's voice can cross an entire ocean, carrying for hundreds and hundreds of miles through the deep, so that a whale singing off one distant coast might be heard by another one far away, the two of them keeping a slow, patient conversation going across a distance no letter could ever travel. And their songs are slow, unhurried. A single whale song can roll on for many long minutes before it circles back and begins again, like a lullaby with no end and no need for one. Imagine those deep, gentle notes moving through the water beneath you now, soft and low, carrying nothing but calm. There are creatures out here that glow too, softly in the dark. When the light fades entirely and the water turns to black velvet, some of the smallest living things in the sea begin to shine with their own quiet, cool light. A pale blue-green that flickers and drifts, like starlight fallen into the water. On certain nights, in certain gentle bays, the whole surface of the sea lights up when it's disturbed, so that every ripple glows, and a hand trailed through the water leaves a trail of soft light behind it. The ocean has its own stars, you see, scattered through the deep, keeping their own quiet company far below the ones in the sky. So even in the darkest water, even at the very bottom of the night, there is light. Gentle, patient, living light. You are surrounded by it now, above and below, held between two skies full of soft and distant stars. Feel how far away everything else has drifted. The day you had, the things you meant to do, the list in your head that always seems to have one more thing on it. Out here, none of it can reach you. It's all back on the shore, small and quiet now, waiting patiently, asking nothing of you at all. You've set it down. You're allowed to set it down. The water is holding you. The stars are watching over you. The old slow tide is breathing for you. And there is quite literally nothing in this moment that you need to do except drift and rest and listen to my voice. So let's drift a little further now, out past the gentle shallows, to where the water grows deeper and calmer still, where the waves smooth themselves into long, slow swells that lift you and lower you as softly as a breath. There's nothing sudden out here, nothing sharp, just that endless, easy rising and falling, up on the swell, down into the trough, up again, down again. The sea rocking you the way it has rocked every sailor and swimmer and dreaming soul who ever gave themselves over to it. And I'll stay right here with you, whispering these soft little things for as long as you need. There's no end I'm hurrying you toward, no place we have to reach. If sleep takes you in the next few breaths, wonderful. Let it. And if you float here with me a good while longer, listening to the tide and the whales and the quiet turning of the deep, that's just as wonderful too. Either way, you're exactly where you should be. Out on the oldest, gentlest water in the world, wrapped in the dark and the calm, drifting slowly toward morning with nothing to fear and nowhere else to be. Just breathe and let the sea keep carrying you. In and out. In and out. Deeper into rest with every slow and easy wave. There's a stillness down in the deepest parts of the sea that's almost impossible to imagine from up here. And I want to take you there for just a moment, gently, only in your mind. Because far below where we're drifting, past the warm surface and the cooler layers beneath it, the ocean settles into a calm so complete that it makes even this quiet night feel busy by comparison. Down there, in the deepest trenches, the water barely moves at all. It has been sitting in that same slow, patient darkness for hundreds and hundreds of years, unbothered, untouched, waiting for nothing. Some of the water resting at the very bottom of the sea last felt the sunlight on its surface many centuries ago, before drifting down into the dark to wait out the ages in perfect peace. Isn't that a lovely thing to think about? That there are places on our own planet so calm and so undisturbed that time itself seems to slow right down and settle in for a long, long rest. You're a little like that water now, sinking gently, letting the years and the hurry drain away, coming to rest somewhere soft and deep and safe. And the deep is cold, but not in a way that would trouble you here. Wrapped up warm and drifting on the surface. Down at the very bottom, the water hovers just a few degrees above freezing, steady and unchanging. The same temperature today as it was 1,000 years ago, and the same it'll be 1,000 years from now. There are no seasons down there, no storms, no day, and no night. Just one long, even hush that goes on and on, mile after mile of quiet water, lying still in the dark. Some people find that a little lonely to think about, but I don't. I think it's peaceful. I think it's the deepest kind of rest there is. A place that has finally, completely let go of everything and simply exists, calm and dark and untroubled. Let a little of that feeling rise up into you now. That deep, unchanging calm. That permission to simply be still. Now here's something that might surprise you, and it's a soft and comforting little fact to carry off to sleep. All that water you're floating on, all that endless salt water rolling out to the horizon in every direction, is really just part of one enormous, unhurried journey that never truly ends. The sea gives its water up to the sky, slowly, invisibly, as the warm surface turns to vapor and rises into the clouds. Those clouds drift over the land and let the water fall again as rain, and the rain gathers into little trickles, and the trickles become streams, and the streams become rivers, and the rivers wind their long, patient way back down to the sea again, sometimes taking many, many years to make the whole trip. Round and round it goes, sky to sea to sky again, the same water it's always been, just endlessly moving, endlessly returning home. The very rain that once fell on a mountain far inland might be the very water lapping softly against you now. Nothing is ever really lost out here. It just changes shape for a while and finds its way back. There's something so reassuring in that, don't you think? That everything comes home in the end. That the whole vast system is patient enough to wait as long as it takes. Let's drift our thoughts back up toward the gentler waters now. up where the sunlight still reaches during the day. Because there are quiet neighborhoods down there I'd love to show you. In some of the calmer, cooler stretches of coast, the sea grows tall, swaying forests of kelp, great ribbons of golden brown that root themselves to the seabed and reach all the way up toward the light. And they grow fast, faster than almost anything else that's alive, some of them stretching upward by as much as 1/2 meter in a single day. Which means if you sat very still beside one, you could very nearly watch it grow. Picture it now, a whole underwater forest swaying together in the slow current, the long fronds leaning one way and then the other, unhurried, endless, catching little coins of sunlight that ripple down from the surface far above. Small fish drift between the stalks. Everything moves at the pace of the water, gentle and dreamlike, nothing in any kind of rush. It's a forest that never has to worry about the wind, that simply leans and sways and lets the tide do all the work. Let your own body feel that way now. Loose, swaying softly, rooted safely in place, but free to drift. And gliding through waters like these, all around the world, are creatures who've been here so long they knew the world when it was young. The sea turtles, for one, paddling slowly through the blue on those great patient flippers, in no hurry at all, the way they've been paddling for more than 100 million years. Just think about that for a moment, softly. Long before there were any people, long before the mountains had even finished rising, turtles very much like the ones alive today were already drifting through these same warm seas, riding these same slow currents, coming up now and then for a quiet breath before sinking back down into the blue. They carry their whole home on their backs, so they're never far from rest, never anxious to reach anywhere in particular. A sea turtle can hold its breath for hours when it's resting, sinking into a kind of gentle sleep tucked beneath a ledge or settled softly on the seabed, drifting off exactly the way you're drifting off now. Imagine one of them nearby in the dark water, calm and slow and ancient, keeping you quiet company as you sink towards sleep. There are gentler giants down here too, the very biggest that have ever lived, and yet they move through the water with the softest grace. The great blue whale, the largest animal ever to exist on this planet, bigger than any of the old dinosaurs, glides through the deep with slow, easy sweeps of its enormous tail, feeding on some of the tiniest creatures in the whole sea. There's something so tender in that, isn't there? The largest heart that has ever beaten, and it beats slow and steady and calm, sometimes only a handful of times each minute when the whale is resting deep below. A heart the size of a small car, thudding gently, patiently, once every few seconds, keeping that vast, peaceful body drifting through the dark. Let your own heartbeat soften toward that same unhurried rhythm now. Slow, steady, calm. There's no need for it to race. Nothing out here is chasing you. Nothing out here ever hurries. The biggest, oldest, gentlest creatures in the world have all learned the same quiet lesson, and the sea is whispering it to you now. Slow down. Take your time. Rest. And when those great whales do rest, they do it in the most beautiful way. And I think you'll love hearing about it as you settle deeper. A whale can't fall completely asleep the way you're about to, because it has to remember to rise and breathe. So instead, it lets one half of its mind drift off, while the other half keeps a soft and gentle watch. Sometimes, out in the open sea, whole small groups of them gather together and hang there quietly in the water, nose up or nose down, perfectly still, half dreaming, drifting in a loose and peaceful cluster while the currents rock them. Sailors who've come across them describe it as one of the most serene things a person can ever witness. These enormous, gentle beings, resting together in the vast blue quiet, trusting the sea completely to hold them safe. That's all you need to do tonight too. Trust the water to hold you. Let half your mind wander off towards sleep, while the rest of you simply floats here, safe and unbothered, rocked by the same old swells that cradle the whales. Down in the middle waters, where the light has thinned to almost nothing, there drift some of the strangest and softest travelers of all, and they move without the slightest effort. The jellyfish, pulsing along in slow, dreamy beats, opening and closing like the gentlest breathing you ever saw. They have no bones, no hard edges, nothing tense about them anywhere. They're made almost entirely of water, so drifting through the sea comes as naturally to them as being carried by a current, which, really, is most of what they do. They don't chase anything. They don't struggle against the tide. They simply pulse and open and close and let the water take them wherever it's already going. Some of them have been drifting like this, in one form or another, for longer than almost any other creature in the sea. Hundreds of millions of years of gentle, boneless drifting through the dark. Picture that soft, slow pulse now, that easy open and close, and let your own breathing match it. Expanding softly, releasing softly, carried along without any effort at all, the way a jellyfish is carried, letting the sea decide the way. And the colors down here, in the last of the light, are the softest, dreamiest colors in the whole world. We talked a little while ago about how the reds and the oranges slip away first as you sink, until only the blues are left. And it's true. The deep sea is a world painted almost entirely in blue and violet, and the deepest velvet gray. It's a restful palette, the kind of color a painter would choose to make you feel calm, cool, and quiet and endless. There's a reason the color blue soothes us so, and it may well be this, that our oldest memories, buried deep in the bones of who we are, remember the water, remember floating, remember being held and rocked and kept safe in a warm and gentle dark. When you look out at the sea and feel that wash of peace come over you, some quiet old part of you may simply be remembering home. Let that peace wash over you now, that deep, cool blue, filling you up from your toes to the crown of your head, softening everything it touches. Even the sand beneath all this water has its own slow, patient story, and it's a gentle one to drift off on. Every soft grain of it was once something larger, a shell, a stone, a piece of coral, worn down over unimaginable stretches of time by the endless, tender working of the waves. The sea never hurries this. It simply rolls each little fragment over and over, year after year, patient as anything, until the hard edges are gone and all that's left is that soft, fine, forgiving sand. Your feet sank into back on the shore. Think of how long that takes. Think of how gentle it is, that the mightiest thing on the planet does its greatest work not by force, but by patience, by returning again and again, softly, without ever once giving up, and without ever once being in a rush. There's a quiet lesson tucked away in that, and you don't need to hold on to it or do anything with it. Just let it settle. The gentlest things win in the end. The soft and patient things last the longest. And the sea, the softest and most patient thing of all, is holding you now, wearing all your sharp edges smooth, rolling you slowly and tenderly toward rest. So keep drifting with me here, out on that endless dark water, with the kelp forests swaying somewhere below, and the turtles paddling slow through the deep, and the great whales resting half asleep in the vast blue quiet. All of them, every single one, taking their time, in no hurry, holding the same easy peace that's filling you now. The tide is still breathing beneath you, slow and even. The stars are still keeping their soft watch above. And that ancient, patient water is still cradling you the way it has cradled every living thing since the very beginning, asking nothing, expecting nothing, simply holding you gently on the surface of the oldest calm there is. There's nowhere you have to be, nothing you have to think, just this soft rising and falling, this quiet dark, this endless, unhurried sea, carrying you a little further towards sleep with every slow and gentle swell. And while you're drifting here, let me tell you about the water itself, because there's something lovely hidden in it that most of us never stop to think about. That salt you can taste on your lips, that faint mineral tang in the air. It didn't come from the sea at all. Not really. It came down off the land. For millions upon millions of years, the rain has been falling on the mountains and the hills, and every drop of it carries away the tiniest whisper of stone, a little mineral here, a little salt there, washing it down through the rivers and out into the waiting ocean. The sea has simply been collecting it, patiently, drop by drop, the way you might fill a jar over a lifetime. So when you float on the ocean and feel how it holds you up a little more easily than fresh water ever could, you're being carried by all those ancient mountains, dissolved and gathered and softened into this one great gentle body of water. Isn't that a peaceful thing to think about? That the very sea holding you now is made, in part, of stone worn down as tenderly as the sand beneath it. Everything out here is patient. Everything out here takes its time. Let that settle over you like a soft blanket pulled up to your chin. There's nothing you need to do with any of this. You don't have to remember it. You don't have to understand it. Just let the facts drift past you the way the water drifts past the shore, coming and going, rising and falling, asking nothing of you at all. Feel how heavy your arms have become. Feel the way your shoulders have finally let go of whatever they were holding on to today. That's the sea doing its work on you now. The same slow, patient work it does on everything it touches, smoothing you, softening you, carrying you gently toward rest. Now, here's a gentle little thing about the water that I've always loved. You know how, on the surface, the sea can look like one single sheet of blue, all of it the same, all of it moving together. Well, it isn't like that at all underneath. The ocean is made of layers, soft layers stacked one on top of the other, like the folds of a blanket that's been laid down loosely over a bed. Right up here at the top, where we're floating, the water is warm, warmed by the sun all day long, gently stirred by the wind into a soft, mild layer that living things love to gather in. But drop down just a little way, and you cross into a cooler layer, and then a cooler one still, each one quieter and calmer, and more still than the last. The creatures down there live their whole lives in that unchanging hush, in water that barely moves, that barely shifts in temperature from one century to the next. There's a kind of deep, settled peace in that thought, isn't there? That beneath all the wind and the waves and the weather up here on the surface, there's a vast, still, sheltered world that simply carries on, calm and slow and undisturbed, no matter what's happening above. You have a place like that inside you too, a deep, still layer that nothing up on the surface can really touch. Let yourself sink toward it now, past the busy top of your mind, down into that quiet place where everything is calm. And speaking of calm, let me tell you about one of the softest sounds in the whole ocean. A sound you'll never hear from up here, but one that fills the deep water for miles and miles. Far down below, the great whales are calling to one another, and their voices, low and long and slow, travel further through the water than almost anything else on the planet. A single whale's call can roll on through the sea for hundreds of kilometers, drifting across whole stretches of ocean to reach another whale resting somewhere far, far away. Just imagine that for a moment. Imagine lying in the dark, warm water and hearing the low, gentle voice of a friend reaching you softly from clear across the sea. A slow song that took its time crossing all that distance just to find you. There's no hurry in a sound like that. There's no urgency. It simply travels the way everything travels out here, patiently, gently, in its own good time, arriving exactly when it means to. Let your breathing slow to match that unhurried pace. In, slow and soft, filling you gently, and out, slower still, letting go of a little more with every breath. There's all the time in the world out here. There always has been. You might be wondering how the water can hold you so easily, how you can simply lie back and float without any effort at all. It's because of the salt, of course, that same salt gathered down from the mountains over all those long ages. But there's something even gentler at work as well. The sea is always trying to find its own level, always settling, always smoothing itself out. When a wave rises up, it doesn't stay risen. It sinks back down again, softly, spreading itself flat, seeking that calm, even surface it always returns to in the end. The water can't help it. It's simply what water does. It settles. It levels. It comes back to stillness every single time, no matter how it's been stirred. And I think there's a quiet comfort in knowing that. In knowing that no matter how choppy things get on the surface, the water always finds its way back to calm. You're a little like that too, you know? However stirred up the day may have left you, there's a part of you that knows exactly how to settle, exactly how to find its own level again, exactly how to come back to stillness. Let it. Let yourself level out now, soft and flat and easy, spreading gently across the surface of this warm, dark sea. Out here, the night has come in fully now, and the water has turned to a deep, soft, inky blue, almost black where it meets the sky, so that you can barely tell where the sea ends and the heavens begin. And above you, the stars have all come out, more of them than you could ever count, scattered across the dark like grains of that soft, fine sand. Do you know, sailors used to find their way across the whole vast ocean by those stars alone? For thousands of years, long before there were any maps worth the name, people would push out onto the open water in small wooden boats and steer their whole journey by the slow, patient wheeling of the stars overhead. They learn the sky the way you might learn the rooms of your own home. Every point of light in its proper place. Every constellation rising and setting in its own good time. Faithful and unhurried, night after night after night. And it worked. Those stars carried whole peoples safely across thousands of kilometers of open sea, guiding them gently home. There's something so reassuring in that, isn't there? That even out on the widest, darkest, loneliest stretch of water, there was always a soft light overhead to steer by. Always something steady and patient watching over the journey. Let those same stars keep their soft watch over you now. You don't have to steer by anything tonight. You don't have to find your way anywhere at all. You can simply drift and let the quiet sky hold its lantern over you while you rest. Feel how still your whole body has become. Feel the gentle rise and fall of the water beneath you, lifting you softly and letting you sink, lifting you and letting you sink, as easy and even as your own slow breathing. There's a lovely thing about the ocean's rhythm that I don't think we've quite said yet. And it's this: the waves you feel out here, that endless, soothing swell. They often began their journey very far away, born of a wind that blew across the water in some distant part of the sea. Maybe days ago, maybe further off than you could travel in a week. And ever since, that gentle motion has been rolling patiently across the ocean toward you, crossing all that open water, softening and smoothing as it came, until at last it reaches you here, in the dark, and lifts you tenderly on its back, before rolling quietly onward. So the very swell that's cradling you now is a traveler from far away, an old, slow visitor that took its time crossing the whole sea just to rock you gently towards sleep. Let it. Let each soft swell lift you and lower you, and know that another is already on its way, and another behind that. A whole endless line of them coming to hold you through the night. Each one patient, each one gentle, each one in no hurry at all. And the sea has been keeping this rhythm going for so unimaginably long. Long before there were any people to float upon it. Long before there were any boats or any stars to steer them. The waves were rolling just like this, rising and falling in the dark, breathing that same slow, even breath. When the very first creatures crept out of the water and onto the land, the sea was already ancient, already patient, already keeping this exact gentle rhythm it's keeping for you tonight. And it will go on keeping it long after this night is over, long after you've woken rested in the morning and gone about your day and forgotten you were ever here. That's a comforting thought to rest on, I think, that you're being held by something so much older and calmer and steadier than any of the small worries of a single day. The sea doesn't know about any of that. The sea only knows how to rise and fall, how to roll and settle, how to hold on gently and never let go. Let it hold you now. Let it carry all that weight for you, the way it's carried so much for so long. Notice how soft the air has become, how cool and clean it feels as it moves in and out of you. Each breath is slower than the last now. Each one carries you a little deeper down towards sleep. There's nothing to hold on to out here, nothing to keep track of. The stars are keeping watch. The waves are doing the rocking. The old, patient sea is doing all the holding, so you don't have to hold anything at all. You can let your thoughts drift off across the water, like little boats slipping over the horizon, one by one, growing smaller and softer, until they're gone entirely, and there's only the quiet left, and the gentle lift of the swell, and the warm, dark water cradling you close, before you drift all the way off into that soft, quiet dark. I'd love it if you'd do one small, gentle thing for me. Whenever you happen to wake in the morning, rested and easy. Down below this, in the comments, tell me the sound that calms you most in all the world. Maybe it's the hush of the waves we've been drifting on tonight. Maybe it's the rain against a window, or the wind moving slow through the trees, or the low patient song of a whale calling across the deep. I read every single one of them, and honestly, there's nothing lovelier than settling in of an evening and seeing what quiet, gentle sounds carry all of you off to sleep. And if this soft drift out onto the water has helped you unwind even a little, you might think about staying a while, because there are so many more calm nights like this one waiting for you. So many more slow journeys out onto the still, dark sea. But that's all for later, for the waking world, for tomorrow. For now, there's nothing to do and nowhere to be. Just keep drifting here with me, out on that endless, patient water, with the stars keeping their soft watch above, and the old sea rocking you gently below, carrying you a little further towards sleep, with every slow and easy swell. And here's something gentle to carry with you as you sink a little further. That water you're floating on holds more than 9/10 of all the living space on this whole planet. Think about that for a moment, softly, the way you'd turn over a smooth stone in your hand. Every forest, every meadow, every mountain slope where anything walks or grows, all of it put together is only a thin little rind compared to the vast, quiet, roomy dark of the sea. There's so much space out here, so much room to simply be. And tonight, a small piece of that endless room belongs to you, holding you up, asking nothing, letting you rest as long as you need to. You know, people have wandered nearly everywhere by now. They've climbed the tallest peaks and crossed the widest deserts and left their footprints in the strangest, coldest places. And yet, most of the ocean floor, the greater part of it by far, has never once been seen by human eyes. There are valleys down there wider than any on land, and long mountain ranges winding for thousands of kilometers through the dark, and nobody has ever looked upon them. Isn't that a lovely thing to drift off on? That even now, in a world that can feel so mapped and known and busy, there are still vast, calm, secret places resting quietly in the deep, in no hurry to be found. They've waited a very long time already. They can wait a little longer. There's a kind of peace in that, in knowing not everything needs to be reached or solved or understood. Some things are simply allowed to be, out there in the soft dark, the way you're allowed to simply be right here. Let that ease settle into your shoulders now. Let them drop, just a little, the way they always want to when you finally give them permission. There's nothing left to carry tonight. Somewhere down in that unhurried dark, there are gardens you'd hardly believe. In the warmer, shallower waters, where the sunlight still reaches through, the coral builds slowly, so slowly, grain by grain and year by year. Some of the great reefs took thousands upon thousands of years to grow into what they are womb. Tiny creatures, no bigger than the tip of your finger, laying down stone beneath them, generation after patient generation, until whole undersea cities rose up from the floor. And they never rush it. They can't. A reef only knows how to grow the way it grows, a hair's breadth at a time, building something enormous and beautiful without any sense of hurry at all. Picture it now, softly if you like. All those quiet colors swaying in the current. The little fish drifting in and out of the coral like slow, bright thoughts. Nobody down there is in any rush to be anywhere. And neither are you. Feel how heavy and warm your hands have become, resting wherever they've come to rest. You don't need them for anything now. Here's a soft one to breathe on. When the whales call to one another far below, and when the smallest snapping creatures click away in the reef, all of that sound travels through the water, much faster than it ever could through the air. Sound moves through the sea more than 4 times quicker than it moves around us on land, gliding through the water in a way that carries the gentlest voices across enormous distances. It means the ocean is never truly silent. Not really. It's always humming, always murmuring to itself, a low and endless conversation passing back and forth through the dark. Most of it far too soft and low for us to ever hear. Some of it we can only feel, a slow pulse moving through the deep, and all of that quiet chatter, all those unhurried voices carrying across the miles. It just goes on and on beneath you while you rest, like the sound of a house you love settling gently around you in the night. Let your breathing slow to match that hush. There's no need to listen for anything in particular. Just let it wash over you and past you and away. There are creatures out here so gentle it would soften anyone's heart to watch them. The sea otters, for one, floating on their backs the way you are now, wrapped up in the long strands of the kelp so they won't drift apart in the night. And do you know what they do sometimes before they sleep? They reach out and hold one another's paws so that when the current moves through in the dark hours, they'll still be together when they wake. Just that. A small, soft thing, holding on so as not to float away alone. There's something so tender in it, isn't there? Nothing needs saying, nothing needs solving. Just the quiet comfort of not drifting off entirely on your own. And you aren't drifting off alone either. Not tonight. I'm here with you, drifting right alongside, out on the same slow, patient water. Feel how easy your breath has become. In without effort. Out without a sound. Way down in the middle depths, where the last of the daylight has faded to the faintest blue. There are the softest travelers you could imagine. The jellyfish drift along on the currents without a single bone in them, without a hurried thought, opening and closing in that slow, dreamy pulse, letting the water carry them wherever it will. They've been drifting like that for longer than almost anything alive, far longer than the trees, far longer than there were flowers on the land, longer really than the mind can hold. And in all that unthinkable stretch of time, they never learned to fight the current. They only learned to go with it, to open and close, and let the sea do the rest. There's an old, deep wisdom in that, I think, in letting yourself be carried, in trusting the water to know the way. You've spent so much of your life pushing against the current in one way or another. Tonight, you don't have to. Tonight, you can just open and close, breathe in and breathe out, and let yourself be carried, exactly like those soft, ancient drifters in the dark. Let a little more of your weight go now. Let the water take it. It's more than strong enough. And here's a warm one to rest against. All that salt you can taste faintly on the air, the salt that helps hold you up so easily, has been gathering in the sea for an almost endless span of time. For millions upon millions of years, the rain has fallen on the far-off mountains and washed the tiniest traces of minerals down through the rivers and out into the waiting ocean, a little at a time, so slowly you'd never see it happen. And the sea just kept it all, kept gathering and holding, patient as ever, until the water grew salt enough to cradle a floating body like yours without the smallest bit of effort. Every wave that laps against you is carrying a story that old, a story written one raindrop at a time over ages beyond counting. And it's holding you now, all that ancient gathered weight, lifting you gently on the surface as though you weighed nothing at all. Notice how little effort it takes to float. You aren't holding yourself up. You never were. The sea is doing it for you, the way it's held so many, so gently, for so long. Far out beyond where we're drifting, the surface of the sea is forever trading soft gifts with the sky. The warmth rises up off the water in the day, and it climbs and gathers and cools, and it comes back down again as the rain, and the rain finds the rivers, and the rivers wander back to the sea, and round it goes without ever stopping, without ever tiring, a great slow circle turning quietly through the world. The very same water has made that journey more times than anyone could ever count, up into the clouds and down again, out to sea and back, over and over across the long, long ages. There's a deep comfort in a thing that simply keeps turning like that, gently, endlessly, needing no one to wind it, or watch it, or keep it going. It just does. It always has. And it always will, long after tonight has faded into morning, and morning has faded into all your quiet tomorrows. Let that slow circle turn beneath you now, in and out, up and down, round and round, the same soft rhythm holding everything together. Down among the darkest waters, in places so deep and cold that the sunlight has never once reached them, there are still small, quiet lives going gently about their business. Around the warm cracks in the sea floor, where the earth breathes out its heat into the dark, whole gatherings of creatures live out their days in a world with no sun at all, warmed from below instead of above, in the deep and patient quiet. They don't miss the light. They never knew it. They found their own soft way to go on in the dark, the way living things always seem to. And there's something reassuring in that, isn't there? That even in the deepest, stillest, most forgotten places, life finds a way to settle in and rest and carry on. No corner of this old blue world is truly empty or truly alone. Everywhere, even miles down in the black, something is quietly, gently going on. Feel how deep your own stillness has grown now, as deep and calm as those far waters, as quiet as the bottom of the sea. And think of how long the light itself takes to give up as you go down. Near the surface, where we're floating, the day still lingers softly. But sink a little and the brightness thins, and sink further and the colors fade one by one, and further still, and there's only a deep, dim blue, like the last moment of dusk held forever. And beyond even that, down past where any glimmer reaches, the dark is complete and soft and total, a dark that has never once been broken by a sunrise in all the history of the world. And yet it isn't a frightening dark. Not really. It's a resting dark, a still, cool, cradling dark, the kind you're sinking down into yourself right now, breath by breath, layer by layer, letting the light of the day slip away above you as you go. Let it go now. Let the brightness thin and soften and fade. You don't need it where you're going. There's only the warm dark ahead, and the slow lift of the swell, and the old sea holding you close as you sink gently down towards sleep. Somewhere far off, a wave that started its long journey days ago and thousands of kilometers away is only now arriving, having rolled patiently across the whole wide ocean to get here. A single swell can travel an astonishing distance before it ever reaches a shore, born from a soft breath of wind out in the open water, and then simply rolling on and on, in no hurry, crossing more sea than you could sail in weeks, carrying its gentle energy across the world until at last it lifts you here, tonight, and lays you down again just as softly. Every rise you feel beneath you has come such a very long way to reach you, and it asks nothing in return. It only lifts and lowers and moves on, off towards some distant shore you'll never see, passing its quiet motion along to the next patient wave and the next, the way the sea has always done. Let it lift you now. Let it lower you. There's nothing to do but be carried on that long, slow swell, the one that traveled so far just to rock you gently here in the dark. There's a small, soft-hearted creature out in these waters that I think you'll like knowing about as you drift. The sea otter, floating on its back the way you're floating now, wrapped up warm in the cold northern water. When it's time to sleep, an otter will reach out and take hold of another otter's paw, so the two of them don't drift apart in the night. Whole families of them will link up that way, paws joined, rocking together on the swell, a little raft of sleeping creatures holding on to one another so the current can't carry anyone off alone. And if there's no friend nearby to hold, an otter will wrap itself in a long ribbon of kelp instead, anchoring itself gently to the living forest below so it can rest without floating away. Isn't that a lovely thing to picture? Something so small, taking such quiet care to stay close and stay safe while it sleeps. You're doing the very same thing tonight, in your own way, letting the sea hold you so you don't have to hold yourself. And speaking of the small ones, let me tell you about the seahorse, one of the gentlest little travelers in the whole ocean. A seahorse is a slow, unhurried thing. It's one of the slowest swimming fish there is, drifting along at barely more than a crawl, letting the water carry it wherever it's going. Most of the time, it doesn't even bother swimming. It simply curls its tail around a blade of seagrass or a slender stem of coral and hangs there, swaying softly with the current, holding on and resting. And here's the part that always softens my heart. A pair of seahorses will often stay together, and each morning, when the light comes back, they'll find one another and do a slow, quiet little dance, twirling gently side by side, tails linked, greeting the new day together before they go back to their swaying and their drifting. Just a small, faithful thing happening down there in the seagrass, morning after morning, whether anyone's watching or not. Let all of that gentleness settle over you now, like a warm current moving through. Down in the deeper shadows, there lives one of the strangest and softest minds in all the ocean, the octopus, drifting and folding through the dark. An octopus is a curious, dreaming sort of creature. It has 3 hearts beating away inside it, two to move the blood through its gills, and one to move it through the rest of its soft body. And its blood isn't red like ours at all, but a pale, cool blue. It has no bones anywhere in it, nothing hard or rigid, so it can pour its whole self through a gap no wider than its own eye, soft as water finding its way. And here's a thing the gentle scientists have noticed. When an octopus sleeps, its skin ripples through colors, pale to dark to mottled and back again, shifting quietly as it rests. And some who've watched believe it may be dreaming, running through the colors of its day, the way our own minds wander while we sleep. Just imagine that, somewhere down in the soft dark right now, a creature is dreaming in colors, changing gently while it rests, exactly as you're about to. Let that settle you a little deeper into the swell. You might like to know too, where all this water's slow traveling is really taking it. The great currents of the sea move in one vast, unhurried loop that winds all the way around the whole planet. And it turns so very slowly that a single drop of water can take around 1,000 years to finish the whole journey and come back to where it began. 1,000 years, moving through the deep and rising to the light and sinking down again, patient beyond anything we can really hold in our minds. The warm water slides along near the surface, giving up its heat to the air little by little. And then, far up in the cold northern reaches, it grows heavy and quietly sinks. And it travels the deep, dark bottom for centuries before it rises somewhere else, warm again, ready to begin once more. It's called the Great Ocean Conveyor, this endless turning. And it never rushes, and it never stops. It just keeps moving, keeps carrying warmth from one side of the world to the other, keeps the whole gentle machine of the climate turning over, breath by breath, century by century, without ever once needing to hurry. And you, floating up here on the warm skin of it, are riding the very beginning of a journey that will still be unfolding long after tonight is only a soft memory. Let that carry you. Here's something else worth resting your mind on. Almost every second breath you take, the good, clean oxygen that fills your lungs and eases you down towards sleep, came from the sea. Not from the great forests on the land, as you might think, but from the ocean, from the tiniest drifting plants floating near its sunlit surface. So small, you'd need thousands of them to cover the tip of your finger. These little drifting green things, gathered in their countless billions, quietly breathe out more than half of all the oxygen in the whole world. Every forest and every jungle put together can't match what these tiny ocean drifters give us. So as you lie there, breathing slow and easy in the dark, remember that the very breath filling you now is a gift from the sea you're floating on, passed up from those small green lives near the surface, the ones drifting alongside you tonight, breathing out the world while nobody watches. In through your nose, soft and slow, sea air and sea breath, and out again, letting go. Let that quiet exchange rock you gently. The coral, too, has a slow and patient story, and it's a soft one to fall asleep on. A coral reef, one of those bright underwater gardens, isn't really a single thing at all. It's built by tiny, soft-bodied creatures no bigger than a grain of rice, each one laying down a little stony cup around itself for shelter, and then living quietly inside it. And they do this together, side by side, generation after generation, each new little creature building its small stone home on top of the homes of all the ones that came before, until, over the long, slow roll of thousands upon thousands of years. They've raised up whole ridges and towers and gardens of stone stretching for kilometer after kilometer. Some of the great reefs down there took millions of years to grow to what they are. Built grain by grain, life by tiny life, no single one of them ever seeing the finished thing. There's something so peaceful in that, isn't there? Something so patient. All those small, quiet lives, each one adding its little part, never rushing, never finishing, just building gently on what came before, the way the tide builds the shore and the years build a life. Let that patience soak into you now, slow and warm. And have you ever wondered why the sea looks blue at all? It's a soft little secret, really. When the sunlight comes down and touches the water quietly drinks in all the warm colors first. The reds and the oranges and the yellows, soaking them up in the first few meters, keeping them for itself. But the blue, the cool, gentle blue, the water can't hold on to, and so it lets it go, scattering it back up to your eyes. Which is why everywhere you look out here, the sea gives back that same deep, endless blue. The color of the ocean is really just the color the water decided not to keep, the one gift it hands back to the sky. And the deeper you'd go, the more of the other colors the water would quietly take, until only that soft blue was left. And then, deeper still, not even that. Just the calm, cradling dark you're sinking toward now. Let the blue fade softly around you as you go, out in the warm, shallow, sunlit stretches, where the water's clear and the sand is pale. There are meadows down there, real meadows, great swaying fields of seagrass, rippling in the slow current, like a wheat field in a gentle wind. And these underwater meadows are some of the calmest, kindest places in the whole ocean. They shelter the little ones, the small fish, and the baby creatures just starting out, giving them soft green places to hide and grow, and they're grazed too by some of the sea's most peaceful giants. The manatee, that great, round, slow-moving soul, drifts through the seagrass with the softest gentleness, cropping the grass and rolling slowly through the warm shallows, never in any hurry at all. People used to mistake them, long ago, for mermaids, these big, gentle gray shapes, moving slowly through the clear water, which tells you something about how weary and dreamy those old sailors must have been, doesn't it? But there's a sweetness in it too, that even the tired human heart, half asleep at sea, kept reaching for something gentle in the water. And here it was all along, real and slow and kind, grazing quietly in the drowned green meadows. Let yourself graze the edges of sleep now, just as slowly, just as easy. Here's a soft one about the dolphins, those bright and playful travelers who ride the waves near the surface. A dolphin can never let its whole mind fall asleep at once, the way you're about to, because it has to remember to rise up and breathe, and it has to stay just aware enough to keep itself safe. So it's found the loveliest way around it. When a dolphin sleeps, it rests only one half of its mind at a time, letting one side drift off into the quiet, while the other side stays softly awake, watching over things, keeping it breathing, keeping it moving slow and easy through the dark water. And then, after a while, the two sides trade places, and the half that rested wakes gently while the other half slips away for its turn. So a dolphin is always half dreaming and half watching, drifting through the whole night in a soft in-between place, never fully gone and never fully here. But you tonight don't have to keep any part of yourself on watch. You can let go of both halves, all of it, every last corner of your mind. There's nothing out here you need to guard against. The sea has you. You're allowed to sleep all the way down. Let both sides of you soften now. Let all of it rest. And think, for just a moment, of the moon again, that pale friend doing all the slow work of the tides. Here's a tender little truth about it. The moon is drifting away from us, very, very slowly, just a few centimeters further out each year, about as fast as your fingernails grow. And so, an unimaginably long time ago, when the world was young, the moon hung much closer, and the tides it pulled were far greater, huge slow surges rising and falling over a younger sea. And an unimaginably long time from now, it'll hang further off, and the tides will be gentler still. But tonight, right now, in this one small slice of all that vast time, the moon is exactly where it is, pulling the water up beneath you at exactly the pace it does, rocking you in exactly this rhythm and no other. This particular tide, this particular gentle rise and fall you're floating on, belongs only to tonight. And it's here for you. Feel the water lift you, slow and sure, the moon's soft hand somewhere far above, easing the whole wide sea up toward the sky and letting it sink back down, up and down, in and out, the oldest lullaby there is. Let it rock you now. There's nothing left to do but be carried down and down into the warm dark, where the sea and the sleep are waiting to fold you in and hold you all the night through. And while the moon does its slow work far above, let me tell you about a strange and wonderful little thing that lives down in the water with you. One of the softest secrets the whole sea keeps. There's a kind of jellyfish out there, so small you could hold it on the very tip of your finger, that has found a way to slip out of growing old. When it gets tired, when its little body has lived a full life and worn itself down, it doesn't simply fade away the way most things do. Instead, it settles gently back down toward the seabed, and it folds itself up, and it begins again, growing young once more, returning to the very start of its life, like a story turning back to its first page. And it can do this over and over, softly, endlessly, never really ending, only ever beginning again. Isn't that a lovely thing to carry down towards sleep with you? That somewhere out in the warm, dark water, there's a tiny drifting creature that knows nothing of endings, only of soft new beginnings, over and over, gentle as a breath. You don't have to hold on to today. You can let it fold up and settle down, just like that little jellyfish, knowing there'll be a fresh, soft morning waiting on the other side of the dark. Let that thought settle over you now, warm and easy. And here's another old, patient one, drifting somewhere below you in the quiet. There's a creature down there called the nautilus, a soft little thing curled up inside a beautiful coiled shell, all pearly cream and gentle stripes. And what's lovely about it is how very, very old its kind is. The nautilus has been drifting through the sea, just like this, in almost exactly this same shape, for hundreds of millions of years, since long before the dinosaurs ever walked, since a time so far back that the land itself was arranged all wrong, and the whole world would look strange to us now. And through all of that, through every enormous change the world has ever been through, this small, gentle creature just kept on drifting, curled up safe inside its lovely shell, rising and sinking through the dark water by softly letting a little gas in and out of its chambers, floating up and easing down, up and down, patient and unbothered, for longer than the mind can really hold. It never hurried. It never needed to. It simply kept drifting, and here it still is, drifting tonight, somewhere out there in the same dark you're floating in. Let yourself drift like that now, soft and slow, and in no hurry at all, carried by nothing more than the gentle rise and fall of the water. Let all your weight go now. Let the sea hold every bit of it. And think, for just a moment, of how sound moves out here in the water with you, because it's a gentle sort of magic. Far down beneath the surface, there's a special layer in the sea, a quiet corridor of water, where sound travels in a very particular way. A low, soft call sent out into that layer, from a whale perhaps, or from some other deep and gentle voice, doesn't simply fade away after a little while, the way a shout does in the open air. Instead, it slips into that hidden channel and carries on and on and on, sliding along for enormous distances, across whole stretches of ocean, for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. A soft voice reaching further than you could ever walk in a lifetime. So when the great whales sing their long, low songs into that layer, another whale, impossibly far away, on the far side of a wide, dark sea, can hear it and know that a friend is out there somewhere, singing in the deep. Isn't that a tender thing? That the ocean is threaded through with these quiet channels of song, these long, soft ribbons of sound reaching from one lonely singer to another across all that water. And you're floating right above it all, held in that great singing hush. Let those far-off voices carry you now, low and slow, further and further down. Let the sound of the sea move all the way through you. Now here's a small, gentle thing about the water itself, about the very drops holding you up. Every single drop of the sea has been on the most extraordinary slow journey, round and round the whole world, for longer than you can imagine. A drop that's cradling you now might, a long time ago, have been a soft flake of snow on the top of a far mountain, resting there quiet and white through a long winter. And then it melted and trickled down into a stream, and joined a river, and wound its slow way down through valleys and past sleeping towns, all the way to the sea. And here it drifted, for years and years, out across the wide water, until one warm day it rose up gently into the sky as the softest wisp of mist, and became a cloud, and floated off on the wind, and fell again somewhere far away as rain, and began the whole slow journey over, round and round, up into the sky, and down into the sea, and back again, patient and endless, for as long as there has been water and warmth and sky. And a little of that same water is holding you right now, resting under you, keeping you afloat, having traveled further than any traveler who ever lived. Let it carry you the way it's carried itself, all this time, gently and without end. Let yourself be carried now. There's nowhere you need to go, and down beneath you, on the floor of the sea, there are the slowest, most patient gardens you could imagine, and they're a soft thing to fall asleep on. There are creatures down there called sponges, simple and quiet, that do nothing all day and all night, but sit softly on the seabed and let the water drift gently through them, taking what they need from it and letting the rest pass on by. And they can live for the most astonishing lengths of time. Some of those quiet sponges, resting in the cold, deep water, are thought to be thousands of years old, older than the oldest story anyone has ever told, older than the oldest tree, sitting there in the dark and doing nothing at all, but breathing the sea in and out, slow as anything, century after century after century. There's no rush down there. There never has been. Just soft water moving gently through soft, patient things for longer than we can really hold in our minds. And tonight, you get to be just like that, doing nothing, needing nothing, only letting the world drift softly through you and pass on by. Let it pass. You don't have to hold on to any of it. Let another breath ease out of you now, slow and long. Here's a gentle little truth about the waves themselves, the very ones rocking you now. You might think, when you watch a wave roll across the sea toward the shore, that the water is traveling along with it, rushing forward all that way, but it isn't, not really. The water mostly just rises and falls, lifting up and settling back down again in the same soft place, while the wave, the shape of it, the energy of it, is what moves on across the surface. It's a bit like when a breath of wind runs across a field of tall grass, and you see a wave go rippling all the way across it, though every blade of grass just sways and settles right back where it stood. So the wave that's lifting you now isn't carrying you off anywhere. It's just passing gently through, raising you up for a moment and letting you sink softly back down, up and down, in the same warm cradle of water, again and again. You're not going anywhere. You're only being lifted and lowered, held in one soft place while the sea breathes through you. Let it lift you now. Let it set you back down. Feel how easy it is, that rising and settling, that endless, gentle rocking, and far out beyond where we're drifting, in the black of the open night, the sea sometimes does the most beautiful thing. When something stirs the water there, a passing fin, or the dip of a wave, or the soft brush of a current, the sea lights up. It glows, a soft blue-green light spilling out where the water's been touched, because it's full of countless tiny living things, each one smaller than a grain of sand, that answer any gentle disturbance with a little bloom of cool light. And so, on the darkest nights, in the quietest coves, the whole sea can come alive with a soft blue glow, every ripple edged in light, every slow swirl leaving a trail of pale fire that fades away as gently as it came. Sailors used to call it the burning of the sea, though there's nothing hot about it at all. Nothing but a cool and gentle shining, quiet as a dream. Imagine it now, all around you, the water lighting up softly wherever it moves against you, so that you're floating in a slow field of gentle blue stars, each one blinking on and drifting off as the sea breathes past. You don't have to do a thing to make it happen. It simply glows, all on its own, in the dark, whether anyone's watching or not. Let that soft light hold you now. Let yourself sink a little deeper into that gentle glow, and think how many creatures out here are moving even slower than you are tonight. There's a small starfish down on the seabed, making its way across the sand, and it's in the very deepest sort of no hurry. It moves on hundreds of tiny soft feet underneath it, each one a little tube filled with water, pushing and reaching and pulling it along, so slowly that if you watched it, you'd hardly see it move at all. It might take a whole long day just to cross a stretch of sand you could step over in a single stride. And yet it gets there in its own soft time, never rushing, never worrying about the distance, just reaching out one little foot after another, patient as the tide. There's a kind of peace in that, isn't there? In knowing that some things get where they're going by moving as slowly as they possibly can. You've done all your traveling for today. You don't have to reach for anything now. You can be even stiller than that little starfish, lying here on the water with nowhere to go and nothing to reach for, letting the sea carry you the whole way instead. Let your hands rest wherever they've fallen. Let your feet grow soft and still. And here's a warm and homely thought to settle you the rest of the way down. Deep in the coral, where the water's warm and clear, there are little fish that make their beds each night in the most careful, cozy ways. Some of them tuck themselves down into a nook in the reef, into a hollow that's just their size, and settle in for the dark. And there's one small fish that wraps itself up every single night in a soft, clear blanket it makes all by itself. A gentle cocoon of its own around its little sleeping body, so that it can rest safe and snug in the water till morning comes. Imagine that, the whole warm reef going quiet as the light fades, all those small, bright fish finding their own little corners, tucking themselves in, drawing their soft blankets close, and letting the night take them one by one. And here you are, doing just the same, wrapped up warm in the whole wide sea, tucked into your own soft place on the water, with the dark drawn up around you like the gentlest blanket there is. There's nothing left to do now but what all of them are doing, all across the reef, all across the sea. Just settle in. Just let the night take you, soft and slow and safe. Let the dark fold around you now. Let it hold you close, and far, far below, in the coldest, quietest deep, the water is doing something so slow and steady that it hardly seems to move at all, though it never once stops. In the great dark rooms at the bottom of the sea, cold, heavy water is forever sinking, easing downward and creeping outward along the very floor of the ocean, spreading in soft, patient rivers that inch their way across the whole world, so slow that a single one of these deep currents might take 1,000 years just to finish its long journey round the globe. 1,000 years, and still it flows, cold and quiet and utterly unhurried, gliding along the bottom of the world in the dark, while whole ages pass by up above. There's no sound down there, no light, no rush, only that endless, gentle drift, older than every kingdom that has ever risen and fallen, and going on still, going on tonight, beneath everything, beneath you. Let that be the deepest and slowest of all the rhythms holding you now, that 1,000-year current easing softly through the dark, in no hurry, never in any hurry, carrying the whole cold weight of the sea as gently as the tide is carrying you. Let yourself drift down toward it now, slow and safe and easy, down into the deep quiet, down where the sea and the sleep are waiting to gather you in and hold you, soft and warm, all through the long and gentle night, out past the meadows and the kelp, where the sea flattens into wide, warm shallows. There are gentle grazers who spend their whole lives doing almost nothing but drifting and feeding, and they might be the most peaceful creatures in all the water. They're called manatees, great soft rounded things, slow as anything you've ever seen, moving through the warm coastal water like clouds that have decided to come down and live in the sea. They spend most of the day half asleep, rising every little while for a breath, and then sinking back down again, resting on the bottom or hanging suspended in the warm shallows with their eyes closed, chewing slowly on the seagrass, in no hurry at all. Nobody hunts them out there in the gentle, warm water. They have nowhere they need to be, and nothing they need to run from. So they've simply become the calmest, roundest, most unbothered animals you could imagine, drifting through the warm shallows like living pillows. And when a whole little group of them gathers to rest together, they'll settle down in the warm water side by side, rising and sinking in their own slow time, breathing softly, dozing the afternoon away in the sun-warmed shallows. Picture that for a moment, a handful of great gentle creatures resting easy in the warm water, drifting up for air and sinking down again, half dreaming the whole day through. And here you are, doing just the same, rising softly with each breath and sinking down again, resting easy on the warm skin of the sea. Somewhere down in the quiet dark, tucked into the sand of the seabed, an oyster is doing something so slow and patient that it can take years and years to finish. A tiny grain, a speck of something rough, works its way inside its shell, and instead of fighting it, instead of pushing it back out, the oyster simply begins to wrap it, gently, one impossibly thin layer at a time, the way you might smooth a blanket over and over, layer after layer, soft and slow, night after night, month after month, coating that little rough speck in something smooth and cool and shining, until, after years of quiet, patient work down there in the dark, what was once a small irritation has become a pearl. That's all a pearl really is. You know, just a bit of patience wrapped around something rough until it turns soft and lovely. Isn't that a kind thing to think about as you're drifting off? That the sea takes the small, uncomfortable things and, given enough quiet time, simply wraps them and wraps them until they shine. You don't have to do anything with the day you've had, all its little rough edges and unfinished things. You can just let them settle, let the quiet wrap softly around them, and let the morning find them smoother than they were. Far out in the open blue, gliding through the water with the widest, slowest wing beats you could imagine, there are the great manta rays, enormous and gentle, moving through the sea the way a bird moves through a summer sky. They're huge, some of them stretching wider from tip to tip than a small boat is long. And yet there's nothing frightening about them at all, because they eat only the very tiniest drifting things in the water, and they glide along with their great wings sweeping slowly up and down, tilting and turning through the blue in these long, easy looping curves. Divers who've swum with them say they seem almost curious, almost playful, banking around in wide, slow circles just to look, wheeling through the water without the faintest hurry. Some of them will find a warm patch of ocean where the currents rise, and they'll spend hours doing nothing but turning slow somersaults in the water, over and over, letting the sea lift them and turn them, riding the gentle upward flow for the simple ease of it. Imagine being that big and moving that softly, wheeling through the warm blue with your great slow wings, turning easy circles in the water just because it feels good to be carried. Let a little of that easy, wheeling softness move through you now, that great slow gliding as you turn ever so gently on the swell. Down in the darker water, further out, there drifts the softest little bell of a creature, the moon jelly, pale and round and almost see-through, glowing the faintest silver white in the dim water like a small dropped moon. It doesn't chase anything. And it doesn't fight the current the way a fish might. It simply opens and closes, opens and closes. That soft round bell of it pulsing slowly, so gently that it barely seems to be moving itself along at all. Mostly, it just lets the water take it, rising and falling with the slow breath of the sea, going wherever the current happens to be going, in no hurry to arrive anywhere. Whole drifting crowds of them travel like that together. Hundreds of soft, pale bells, all pulsing slowly in the same dark water, glowing faintly, rising and sinking, letting the sea carry them along in one great gentle procession through the dark. There's something so restful about a thing that simply lets itself be carried, that opens and closes in its own slow time and trusts the water to do the rest. That soft, slow pulse, opening and closing, is a lovely rhythm to sink toward now. No faster than your own quiet breathing, no more effort than that. And here's a curious, cozy little fact to keep you company as you go. Down there in the shifting sand of the shallows, there's a small creature called the hermit crab, who doesn't grow a shell of its own at all. Instead, it goes looking for an empty one, an old cast-off shell that some other creature has left behind. And it tucks its soft little body inside and carries that borrowed home around on its back wherever it goes. And when it grows a bit bigger and its old shell starts to feel too tight, it doesn't fret about it. It just goes looking for a slightly larger one, tries it on for size, and if it fits nicely, it slips out of the old and settles into the new, carrying its little house along with it into the dark. Sometimes, on a quiet stretch of the seabed, a whole line of them will gather when a good new shell turns up, each one waiting patiently for the next size down, so that when the biggest one moves house, every crab in the line can shuffle up into a slightly roomier home, one after another, all down the row, each of them finding a better fit. Imagine that, a gentle little chain of small creatures all settling into somewhere that fits them just right, all of them getting comfortable at once, all down the quiet sand. And here you are too, settling into the place that fits you, letting your whole body find the spot where it feels most at ease, and staying there, snug and easy, for the whole long night. Far, far below, deeper than the light has ever reached, in the coldest and stillest rooms of the ocean, there are gardens growing in the dark that never once needed the sun at all. Down there on the seabed, in places where warm water rises up gently through the rock, whole quiet communities of soft, pale creatures have gathered and made their lives. Tall, slender tube worms swaying softly in the warm, rising water, pale and gentle, rooted to the sea floor and waving slowly in the current, like reeds along the edge of a pond. They've been down there in the warm dark for longer than anyone can say, needing no daylight, asking nothing of the world above, just swaying softly in the warm water welling up from below, going quietly on with their lives in the deepest peace there is. It's a whole hidden world down there, warm and still and patient, getting along perfectly well in the dark without ever once knowing that a sun exists. And there's something wonderfully soothing in that, isn't there? The thought of all that gentle life carrying on softly in the deep, needing nothing, wanting nothing, simply swaying in the warm dark, hour after hour, age after age, entirely at peace. You don't need anything either. Right now, you have everything you need for this. Just the water holding you, and the dark folded softly around you, and the slow, warm rhythm of your own quiet breath. somewhere in the great open middle of the sea, where the water is deep and blue, and there's no bottom in sight and no shore in any direction. There's a soft floating meadow that isn't rooted to anything at all. It's a wide drifting raft of golden seaweed, floating free on the open ocean, going wherever the slow currents carry it. And a whole gentle little world lives tucked up inside it. Tiny crabs, no bigger than your fingernail, cling to its golden fronds, and small fish shelter in its shade, and little seahorses wind their tails around it to keep from drifting off. And all of them travel together on that floating golden raft, a whole small world adrift on the wide blue sea, carried along by the same patient currents for weeks and months at a time. Some of the little creatures who live there are the very same golden brown as the weed itself, so perfectly matched that you could look right at them and never know they were there, tucked up safe and hidden in their floating home. Imagine that, a soft golden island of life drifting slowly across the open ocean, carrying its little travelers gently along in no hurry, bound for nowhere in particular, just going where the sea decides to take it. Let that be another gentle thing to drift on now. That soft golden raft easing its way across the wide dark water, carrying everything it holds so tenderly through the night. And down in the shifting shadows, changing color with every passing moment, there's the cuttlefish, one of the quietest wonders of the whole sea. Its soft, round body can shimmer through more shades and patterns than you could ever count, rippling from pale sand gold to deep velvet brown to a soft mottled gray. Waves of color flowing over its skin like clouds moving across the face of the moon. All of it slow and gentle and endlessly changing. When it wants to rest against the seabed, it simply settles down and lets its skin drift into the very colors of the sand and stone beneath it, until it all but disappears, melting softly into its surroundings, so calm and so still that the whole rest of the sea seems to move around it. There's no effort in it, no hurry, just that slow, dreamy shifting of soft color, like watching the sky change at the very end of the day. And when night comes down over the reef, the cuttlefish grows still and quiet too, its colors settling into soft, calm tones, resting easy in the dark water, letting the day drain gently away. Let your own thoughts drift and change as softly as that now. No sharp edges to any of them. One soft color easing into the next. Nothing you need to hold on to. Just soft shapes moving slowly through you and passing gently on. And here's one last cozy thought to carry you the rest of the way down. Way up in the cold northern seas, there are small pale whales called belugas, round-headed and gentle, and they're such chatterers, such soft musical talkers, that sailors of old used to call them the canaries of the sea. All day and all night, they murmur and whistle and chirp softly to one another under the ice, keeping each other company in the dark, cold water, with a steady, gentle stream of little sounds, so that a whole group of them together makes the softest, busiest, most companionable music you could imagine, drifting up through the water. And they move slowly, easily, in no rush at all, rising to breathe and sinking back down, calling softly to one another the whole time, a whole gentle family, keeping close in the quiet dark, none of them ever truly alone. Imagine all those soft voices murmuring away beneath the northern water, that gentle chorus rising and falling, keeping each other safe and close through the long dark night. And you're not alone out here either. Not really. With the whole living sea murmuring softly all around you, the whales far below, and the small clicking creatures on the reef, and all those countless quiet lives going gently about their rest, every one of them settling in for the night, just as you are. Let all those soft, faraway voices become the gentlest lullaby now, a whole ocean humming quietly to itself in the dark, and you drifting right in the middle of it all, held and rocked and carried, easing down and down toward sleep. Let another slow breath ease out of you, and let yourself sink a little further into the soft, dark water, softer and slower with every gentle rise and fall. And here's a soft one to rest on. Way out in the warm, open water, there swims a fish so large and so gentle that people who meet it can hardly believe it isn't a whale at all. It's the whale shark, the biggest fish in all the sea, growing longer than a bus and heavier than you could ever picture. Its wide back scattered all over with pale spots, like a night sky turned upside down and set drifting through the blue. And for all its size, it wouldn't hurt a soul. It simply opens its great soft mouth and glides slowly forward through the water, letting the tiniest specks of drifting life wash gently in, taking only the smallest things the sea has to offer, moving so slowly and so peacefully that little fish swim along beside it for company, riding in the calm water just ahead of that huge, kind face. Imagine something that enormous moving through the world with so little hurry, so little worry, drifting along the warm currents year after year, crossing whole oceans at that same unbothered pace, following the warmth and the quiet the way you're following the sound of my voice down towards sleep. There's nothing to fear in something so big and so gentle. Let that great slow shape drift through your mind now, easy and unhurried, and let yourself drift right along beside it, carried on the same soft current, going wherever the warm water goes. Now here's a tiny wonder to set against that giant one, because the sea holds both, the vast and the very small, and treats them both with the same soft care. Down in the warm shallows, tucked among the coral, there are little fish called clownfish, small and bright and round, and they've made themselves the coziest home you could dream of. They live right in the waving arms of the sea anemone, that soft flowering creature that stings almost anything that touches it. And yet these little fish have learned its secret, learned how to slip in among those swaying arms and be held there safely, wrapped up in the one place in the whole reef where nothing can reach them. All night they nestle down in that gentle embrace, rocking softly as the anemone sways in the current, perfectly safe, perfectly warm, tucked into their own living blanket, while the dark water moves quietly all around them. And the anemone doesn't mind at all. The two of them look after one another, the little fish keeping the anemone clean and fed, the anemone keeping the little fish safe from harm, the pair of them drifting through their whole lives together, neither one ever truly alone. Picture that now, a soft, warm home swaying gently in the current, a little life tucked deep inside it, safe from everything. Rock to sleep by the slow breathing of the sea, and let yourself be tucked in just the same way now, wrapped up warm and safe in the dark water. Nothing able to reach you here, nothing that needs your worry, just the soft sway of the sea holding you close. Here's another quiet marvel drifting somewhere out beneath you. In the wide open sea, far from any shore, There are creatures that build themselves the most delicate little boats and sail along the very top of the water for their whole lives. Some of them spin a raft of tiny bubbles, patiently blowing one shining bubble after another and wrapping them all up together into a soft floating cradle. And then they simply ride there, upside down beneath their little raft, drifting wherever the wind and the current care to take them across the endless blue. They never touch the bottom, never see the shore, never have anywhere in particular they need to be. They just float along the boundary between the sea and the sky, rising and falling on the gentle swell, letting the whole wide ocean carry them along. Imagine spending your days like that, held up by nothing but a handful of soft bubbles, rocked on the open water under the warm sun and the cool stars, with no map and no destination, trusting the sea to take you exactly where you need to go. There's such a deep peace in that, in letting go of the steering entirely, in simply being carried. Let yourself be carried like that now. No need to choose a direction. No need to know where you're going. Just floating along the soft edge of sleep, letting the gentle current do all the work. And down below, in the quiet places among the rocks, there are creatures who have mastered the art of the slow, patient rest better than almost anything else alive. The starfish spends its long days spread softly across the seabed, moving so gently that you'd swear it wasn't moving at all, feeling its slow way over the stones on all those tiny soft feet, in no hurry to be anywhere, taking whole hours to cross a space you could step over. And if it ever loses one of its arms to a hungry fish or a tumbling rock, it doesn't fret and it doesn't fear. It simply, slowly, quietly grows a new one over many patient months, letting its body knit itself gently back together in its own unhurried time. There's no panic in it, no rushing, just that calm and certain healing, going on softly in the dark, the way the whole sea heals and mends and carries on. Isn't that a soothing thing to know? That down there in the quiet, bodies are gently repairing themselves, slow and sure, asking nothing, hurrying nowhere, trusting the long patient work of time. Let a little of that trust settle into you now. Whatever felt worn or frayed in you today, let it begin its own slow mending here in the dark water. No effort needed from you. Nothing to do but rest and let the quiet work go on. Here's a gentle thought about the very light of the sea. In the warm shallows where the coral grows, some of those corals hold the softest secret. All through the day, they gather the sunlight into themselves, drinking it in through the tiny living things that share their bodies, storing up that warm light like honey. And then, when the night comes down and the water turns dark, some of them give a little of that light back, glowing softly in gentle greens and pinks and blues, a whole reef quietly shining in the black water, like a garden strung with the faintest lanterns. It isn't a bright light, nothing that would wake you, just the softest breathing glow rising up from the seabed, there in the dark for no one in particular, simply because that's the quiet, beautiful thing the coral does. Imagine drifting slowly above a reef like that in the deep of the night, the water all around you glowing the faintest, softest colors, rising and dimming, rising and dimming, like the whole seabed is breathing light in its sleep. Let those soft colors rise gently through your mind now. No sharp glare to any of them, just that dreamy underwater glow, easing you further and further down. And far out in the colder waters, there are creatures who have learned to slow themselves down almost to stillness when the season turns and the food grows scarce. Some of the great slow fish of the deep will settle themselves against the seabed and let their whole bodies grow quiet, their hearts beating slower and slower, their breathing easing down to almost nothing, waiting out the lean cold months in a kind of deep, patient rest, asking nothing of the world, spending as little as they can, simply drifting through the dark until the warmth and the food come back around again. They know how to wait. They know how to let the hard, cold stretch pass over them without a struggle, sinking into that deep quiet and trusting that the good times will come round again, the way they always have. There's a wisdom in that, in knowing when to rest, when to let everything slow right down, when to stop pushing against the current and simply drift and wait. And that's exactly what you're doing now, letting everything slow, letting your own breathing ease down almost to nothing, spending nothing, chasing nothing, just resting in the warm dark and trusting that the morning will come round in its own good time. Let it all slow down now, slower and slower, softer and softer, the way the whole cold sea slows and waits. Here's one more soft creature to keep you company down here. Along the rocky edges of the sea, where the waves fold gently over the stones, there live the sea slugs, and for all their plain little name, they are among the loveliest things in all the water, dressed in soft ribbons and frills of color, deep violets and warm oranges and glowing blues, drifting slowly over the rocks like tiny living flowers. They move so gently, so unhurriedly, gliding along on a soft cushion of themselves, grazing quietly through their days, never rushing, never worrying, just wandering the underwater garden at the slowest, dreamiest pace you could imagine. Some of them even borrow the sting from the creatures they feed on and carry it softly in their own frills for safekeeping, so that they drift through the world both delicate and protected at once, soft and safe together. Picture one of those now, a little ribbon of gentle color easing its way across a stone in the quiet water, taking all the time in the world, with nowhere to be and nothing to prove, simply being lovely and slow in the dark. Let yourself be just that unhurried now. There is nowhere you need to be either. There is nothing you need to prove. There is only the soft, dark water and the slow, dreamy drifting, and all the time in the world to sink into it. And here's a wide and peaceful thought to spread out beneath you like a calm sea, all across the warm middle of the world, where the ocean is broad and blue and endlessly patient. The water moves in great slow circles, vast and gentle, turning round and round across whole hemispheres, so wide that a single one of these turning currents can hold more water than all the rivers of the land put together, and yet so slow and so soft that if you were floating right in the middle of one, you'd never feel it move at all. These great calm wheels of water turn year after year, century after century, carrying warmth from the sunny places toward the cold ones, carrying little drifting lives from one side of the world to the other, spinning so slowly and so steadily that they've been turning like this since long before anyone was here to notice them. And they'll keep on turning long after this quiet night is done. Imagine being held in the middle of something so vast and so gentle, turned slowly through the warm water on a wheel too big to feel, going nowhere and everywhere all at once, carried along on the oldest, softest current there is. Let that great slow circle turn beneath you now, holding you up, moving you along so gently you'll never feel a thing, carrying you softly through the dark toward the far shore of sleep. Let another slow breath ease out of you here, and let yourself sink a little further still into the warm, dark, endless water, softer and heavier and more peaceful with every gentle rise and fall of the sea. And here's another gentle little life to keep you company in the dark. Down along the sandy shallows, where the water is warm and the light comes through soft and green, there lives a small flat fish called the flounder, and it spends its whole quiet life lying flat against the seabed, resting on its side, so perfectly still and so perfectly matched to the sand beneath it that you could swim right over the top of it and never know it was there at all. When it was very young, it looked like any other little fish, swimming upright through the water. But as it grew, one of its eyes slowly, gently wandered around to join the other on the upper side of its head, so that now it can lie there flat and calm on the ocean floor and still watch the soft world drifting by above it. It settles into the sand like someone settling into a warm bed, shivering down just a little so the grains cover its edges. And then it simply rests, breathing slow, waiting quietly for nothing in particular, content to be still for as long as the stillness lasts. Picture that now, a soft creature that has made an art out of lying down and being calm, tucked into the warm sand, with the whole sea rocking gently overhead. Let yourself settle just like that, sinking a little into the softness beneath you, letting the weight of your body be held completely, with nothing to watch for and nowhere to swim. And here's a soft and patient thought to rest your mind on. Far out across the ocean floor, in the great dark plains that stretch on for thousands of kilometers with no light and no sound, there are whole fields of small round stones, dark and smooth, that have been growing there for longer than almost anything else on Earth. They aren't planted, and they don't sprout the way things grow up in the sunlight. Instead, they gather themselves ever so slowly out of the water itself, drawing in the tiniest specks of metal and mineral, drifting down through the dark, layer upon layer upon layer, so slowly that in the time it takes one of these little stones to grow as wide as a coin, whole mountain ranges up on the land can rise and wear away to nothing. Some of them have been sitting there quietly, growing by the width of a hair every 1,000 years, since long before there were any people at all, resting on the soft gray floor of the sea in the deep and total dark, taking all the time in the world and then some more. There's something wonderfully calming in that, isn't there? The idea of a thing so unhurried that 1,000 years is just one thin new layer, just one more soft breath in a life measured in ages. Let that slowness reach up to you now through all the dark water. There is no rush down here. There is nothing that has to happen fast. Let your own thoughts slow to that same deep, patient pace, one soft layer at a time, settling and settling into the quiet. And here's one more gentle traveler drifting through the deep to keep you drowsy company. Way down in the middle waters, far from the surface and far from the floor, hanging in the endless blue with nothing above and nothing below, there drift the little creatures called sea butterflies, tiny soft snails no bigger than a lentil that have traded their heavy shells for a pair of delicate wing-like flaps. And they use them to swim, ever so slowly, ever so gently, flapping through the open water the way a butterfly drifts across a summer garden. They rise and they sink, rise and sink, in the slowest, dreamiest motion you could imagine, spending their whole lives suspended in the deep blue with no ground beneath them, and no need for any, simply floating and flapping and being carried along by the great slow currents of the sea. Some of them even trail a fine, near-invisible net of the softest mucus around themselves to gather the tiny drifting food from the water. And then they just wait, patient and calm, gathering slowly from the sea around them, asking nothing, hurrying nowhere. Imagine being one of them for a moment, a tiny soft thing with delicate wings, drifting through the warm, dark water, rising and sinking on the gentlest of rhythms, held up by the whole ocean, needing to do nothing at all but drift. Let yourself drift just like that now, weightless and easy, held up by everything around you, sinking a little and rising a little with every slow breath, going nowhere and perfectly happy to be there. And here's a soft and shining fact to lay across your mind, like moonlight on the water, on certain warm, still nights in the quiet bays and lagoons of the world. The whole surface of the sea can come alive with a gentle, glowing light, so that every ripple and every soft wave lights up with a cool blue shimmer. And if you were to trail your hands slowly through the water, it would leave a glowing trail behind it, as though you dipped your fingers in liquid starlight. This soft glow comes from countless tiny creatures too small to see on their own, drifting in their millions near the surface, each one carrying its own little spark. And when the water stirs around them, they answer with that faint blue light, all of them together turning the sea into a vast, gentle, breathing lantern. Sailors long ago used to watch the glowing wakes of their boats trailing out behind them in the dark and hardly know what to make of it. This quiet fire that didn't burn, this cold light rising up out of the deep. And it happens still, on the right nights, in the right quiet places. The whole shoreline glowing softly with each small wave that folds over onto the sand. Picture that now, a calm dark bay under the stars, the water glowing the faintest silver blue with every gentle motion, soft light rising and fading, in time with the breathing of the sea. Let that quiet glow fill the dark behind your eyes now, soft and cool and endlessly gentle, rising and fading in time with your own slow breath. And here's another slow and patient creature to keep you drifting. Along the seabed, in the cool green shallows where the rocks are covered in soft weed, there lives the sea cucumber, a gentle, plump, unhurried thing that spends its whole long life easing its way across the ocean floor, so slowly that it makes even the snails and the starfish look like they're in a rush. It doesn't hunt, and it doesn't chase, and it doesn't worry about anything at all. It simply moves along the seabed, drawing in the soft sand and the tiny scraps of food within it, taking the goodness it needs and letting the clean sand pass gently on behind it, so that as it wanders, it quietly tidies the whole floor of the sea, leaving everything a little cleaner and softer than it found it. It might spend a whole day crossing a patch of ground you could walk over in a single step, and it never minds, never hurries, never once wishes it were anywhere else. It's one of the great gentle gardeners of the deep, tending the seabed with the softest, slowest care, asking for nothing but the quiet and the dark and all the time in the world. Let a little of that unhurried peace settle into you now. You have all the time in the world too. There is nothing left tonight that needs your hurrying. Let yourself move through these last waking moments as slowly and as softly as that gentle creature crossing its patch of quiet sand. And here's a wide and soothing thought to spread out around you like the whole calm night. Almost everywhere you look out on the open sea, the water seems empty and still, but it's never truly empty at all, for it's filled from top to bottom with the tiniest drifting lives, so small that a single drop of seawater might hold more of them than you could ever count, all of them floating gently in the light near the surface, turning the sunshine into food the way the grass and the trees do up on the land. These are the little wandering plants of the sea, drifting wherever the water carries them, having no way to swim and no wish to, simply floating in the warm, bright surface and quietly doing the oldest, gentlest work there is, breathing out the clean, fresh air that fills the whole sky. Every soft breath you take tonight, the deep, easy breaths that are carrying you down towards sleep, is partly a gift from these tiny drifting things you'll never see, spread across the whole broad face of the ocean, working quietly in the sunlight while the great world turns. Isn't that a lovely thing to rest on? That the smallest, softest, most patient lives in all the sea are the very ones that keep the whole world breathing. Let your own breath fall in with theirs now, slow and clean and easy, in and out, in and out. Part of that same great gentle rhythm that has kept the whole living world going since the very beginning. And here's one last soft creature for now, drifting up out of the deep to keep you company. In the cool, dark waters, where the light has almost entirely gone, there swims a gentle giant called the sunfish, one of the strangest and calmest shapes in all the sea, great and round and flat as a wide silver plate stood up on its edge, drifting slowly along with the softest, laziest sweep of its fins. It loves, more than almost anything, to come up in the daytime and lie flat on the very surface of the sea, tipping over onto its side so that it floats there in the warm sunlight, like a great round platter left out to bask, soaking up the heat of the sun after its long, cold journeys down in the deep. There it lies, rocking gently on the swell, still and peaceful, letting the warmth soak all the way into it, in no hurry at all to be anywhere else. It's an enormous creature, one of the heaviest fish in all the world, and yet there's nothing fierce about it at all, nothing but a slow, drifting, sun-warmed calm, a great gentle thing that has learned how to lie still on the top of the sea and simply rest. Picture that now, a huge soft shape basking on the calm surface, rocking slowly on the gentle swell, warmed right through and utterly at peace. Let yourself bask just like that in the warmth of your own quiet bed, rocking ever so gently on the slow swell of your breath, warmed and heavy and utterly at ease, with nothing left to do but rest. And here's a slow, deep thought to carry you further down still, beneath the floor of the sea, far below the sand and the stones. The whole great basin of the ocean is very slowly, very patiently changing shape, wider than any of us could ever notice, opening a hair's breadth wider here and easing gently closed there, as the deep floor of the world drifts along at the same unhurried speed. Your own fingernails are growing, a few soft centimeters a year, no faster. Whole oceans have opened this way over ages beyond counting, spreading slowly from a narrow crack into a wide blue expanse. And whole oceans have closed again just as slowly. drawing their far shores gently back together over spans of time so vast that the mind can hardly hold them. And all of it happens in perfect silence, in the cold and the dark at the bottom of the world. So slowly that from one long human life to the next, you'd never see it move at all. And yet it never once stops, never rests, just eases along at that gentle dreaming pace, year after year, age after age. There's a deep comfort in that, isn't there? In the thought of the whole solid floor of the sea, drifting as softly and as slowly as anything can drift. Let that great unhurried motion carry you now, so slow you'll never feel it, so patient it will never end, easing you gently onward through the dark toward the quiet shore of sleep. Let another slow breath ease out of you here, and let yourself sink a little deeper still into the warm and endless water, softer and heavier, and more at peace with every gentle rise and fall of the sea. There's a little fish out in the warm shallows, a small round puffer fish, who spends whole days making something so lovely that when people first found it on the seabed, they could hardly believe a fish had done it at all. Down on the smooth sand, working with nothing but the soft flutter of his fins, he carves out a great circle, a wide and perfect pattern of ridges and valleys spreading out around him like the petals of an enormous flower. And he tends it patiently, hour after hour, smoothing the grooves, gathering little bits of shell to decorate the edges, drifting round and round the whole design as if he were sweeping a garden path. It takes him days to finish just one, days of slow and careful work, circling and shaping and circling again, until at last there's this beautiful ringed pattern lying on the ocean floor, far bigger than the little fish himself, made simply because he felt it should be made. And then, when it's done, he waits beside it, quiet and hopeful, for someone to come along and admire it. There's something so gentle in that, isn't there? The thought of a tiny creature spending all his days making something beautiful in the sand of a place no one may ever see. Let that patient, unhurried care settle over you now, the way a soft blanket settles when you stop moving beneath it. And let yourself grow a little heavier, a little slower, sinking down towards sleep as easily as that little pattern rests in the quiet sand. Way up in the cold seas near the top of the world, where the water is dark and clear and the ice drifts by in great pale sheets, there swims a strange and gentle creature called the narwhal, a small round whale with a single long spiral tusk winding out from the front of its head like something out of an old, half-remembered story. For hundreds of years, people who found these tusks washed up on distant shores thought they'd come from unicorns, and they treasured them beyond almost anything, never guessing that the real owner was a soft gray whale drifting quietly beneath the ice. That long spiraling tusk is really a tooth, grown out and out into a slow twist, and it's threaded all the way through with the tiniest, most delicate feelings, so that the narwhal can sense the gentlest changes in the water around it, the faint shift of warmth and cold, the quiet stirrings of the sea. Picture them now, a little group of them, moving slowly together through the dark northern water, unhurried and calm, their pale tusks catching what little light there is, breathing softly at the cracks in the ice, and then slipping back down into the deep. There's a whole quiet world up there under the ice, going gently about its business in the cold and the dark, asking nothing of you at all. Let yourself drift there for a moment, soft and safe and warm beneath your own blankets. And let the thought of those gentle creatures carry you a little further down toward the deep. Down among the rocks and the reef, there are little places the fish come to that are almost like a quiet doorway on a country lane where everyone stops to be looked after. They're called cleaning stations, and they're tended by small, bright little fish and slender shrimp who spend their whole lives doing one gentle thing: tidying up the bigger fish who come to visit. A great fish will glide up slowly and simply hang there in the water, still and calm, opening its mouth wide and holding its fins out soft. And the little cleaners will move all over it, in and out and around, nibbling away every speck and every bother, tending to it with the greatest care. And the big fish, who might in any other moment be swift and wary, just floats there in a kind of trance, utterly at peace, letting itself be cared for. Even creatures that might otherwise never come near one another will wait their turn politely, drifting in a slow and easy queue, because everyone understands that this is a gentle place, a resting place where no harm comes. Isn't that a soft thing to picture? A quiet corner of the reef where the whole busy sea slows down and lets itself be tended. You've come to a place like that now, a still and gentle place where nothing's asked of you and there's nothing to guard against. Let yourself be tended by the quiet. Let your whole body go soft and easy, floating there with your fins held out, cared for and calm and ready to rest. Here's a slow and lovely thought to sink into. When one of the very great whales comes at last to the end of its long life, far out in the open sea, its enormous body drifts slowly, slowly down through all the layers of the water, down past the light and the cold and the dark, until it comes to rest at last on the deep floor of the ocean. And there, in that quiet and lightless place, something wonderful begins. That single great whale becomes a whole world of its own, a gathering place, a garden in the dark, feeding and sheltering countless small and gentle lives for years and years, sometimes for a lifetime and more. Creatures come drifting in from all across the empty deep, drawn to this one soft, generous place, and they settle there and make their homes and go quietly about their living, all of them held and fed by that one great gift resting on the seabed. Nothing is wasted down there. Nothing is lost. Even in the deepest, coldest dark, one ending becomes the beginning of 100 quiet lives, a slow and patient generosity spreading out across the ocean floor. There's a deep peace in that, in knowing that everything out here is held and carried and passed gently on, that nothing is ever truly alone in the dark. Let that peace settle right through you now, warm and heavy and sure, and let yourself be held the very same way, safe in the deep quiet, carried gently onward toward sleep. Down in the warm reef at nightfall, there's a certain kind of fish, a big, soft parrotfish, who has the coziest bedtime ritual of anything in all the sea. When the day begins to fade and the water grows dim, this fish finds itself a quiet little nook among the coral, tucks itself in, and then does the most remarkable thing. From its own body, ever so slowly, it spins out a soft, clear bubble all around itself, a thin and delicate cocoon of its own making, wrapping itself up completely inside it, like a child pulling a sheet right over its head. And there it sleeps, all through the dark, snug inside its little bubble, safe and quiet and warm, hidden away from the drifting currents and shielded from anything that might come wandering by in the night. Come the morning, when the light returns to the water, it simply slips out of its soft cocoon and drifts off into the new day, leaving the little bubble behind. Just imagine that. A creature that tucks itself into a blanket of its own each and every night before it sleeps. And here you are doing very nearly the same thing, wrapped up warm in your own soft covers, tucked away safe from the whole wide world, with nothing to do now but let the night close gently around you. Let yourself settle deeper into that softness, snug and hidden and warm, drifting off just as easily as that little fish in its bubble of light. Out in the cool green shallows, moving over the rocks with the slowest imaginable grace, there's a creature so old that it has watched almost the entire story of the world go by. A small armored thing called the horseshoe crab, who has been crawling gently along the seabed for hundreds of millions of years, since long before there were forests on the land, long before the great creatures walked the earth, long before almost anything you could name. Age after age has come and gone. Whole worlds have risen and fallen. And all the while, this quiet little creature has just kept on, easing along the shallows on its many soft legs, turning its rounded shell to the tide, doing the same gentle things it has always done. It never rushed to change, never hurried to become something else. It simply found a slow and peaceful way of living and held to it, patiently, across spans of time so vast the mind can hardly reach them. And still, on certain warm nights when the tide runs high, they come drifting up onto the quiet beaches in their soft, slow numbers, just as they have on countless nights before, keeping a rhythm older than nearly everything. There's such comfort in that kind of steadiness, isn't there? In something that has simply carried gently on, unhurried, through all the ages of the world. Let that ancient calm settle over you now, that sense of a thing that never needed to rush, and let your own breathing slow to match it, easy and even and old as the tide. Down in the middle waters, drifting through the soft blue dim, there's a creature that changes color the way the evening sky does, a smooth and gentle thing called the cuttlefish, with wide, wise eyes and a body that ripples endlessly through every shade you could dream of. When it drifts over pale sand, it turns pale and soft. When it eases past a dark rock, it deepens to a velvet gray. And when it simply feels calm and quiet, waves of gentle color flow across its skin, like light moving over water, rolling from head to fin in slow, shimmering bands, on and on, never quite the same from one moment to the next. It has a little frill of soft fin running all the way around its body, and it moves by gently rippling that fringe so that it seems to float rather than swim, hovering in the water as lightly as a leaf held up on the wind. There's nothing hurried about it, nothing sharp, just a quiet drifting thing, turning color softly to itself in the dim, at peace in the deep blue. Picture those slow waves of color passing over it now, gentle and endless, like the changing light behind your own closed eyes. Let your thoughts drift and shift as softly as that. No need to hold on to any of them, each one flowing gently into the next and away again, until they fade to the softest quiet and let you sink down further into the warm and welcoming dark. And here's one last gentle wonder to carry you deeper still. Far out in the great turning sea, there are tiny creatures no bigger than a grain of sand who build themselves the most beautiful little shells you could ever imagine. delicate chambers of glass-clear stone spun into perfect spirals and stars, so small and so finely made that a single one would sit unseen on the tip of your finger. And they drift, uncountable millions of them, high up in the sunlit water, living out their small, quiet lives near the surface of the sea. When at last their little lives are done, their tiny shells come drifting slowly down through all the long fathoms of the deep, sinking softly, softly, over days and weeks, until they settle at last on the ocean floor. And there they gather, layer upon patient layer, over ages beyond all counting, until the very floor of the deep sea is carpeted with the soft, pale dust of them. Mile upon mile of gentle white, made entirely of the smallest lives that ever were. Whole cliffs and hills of the land, in places, are built of nothing but these tiny fallen shells, gathered up over unimaginable time and lifted slowly out of the sea. Just think of it, a whole soft world made grain by grain, so gently, so patiently, with all the time in the world and never any hurry at all. Let that endless, unhurried gathering settle over you now, layer by soft layer, each slow breath laying you down a little deeper into rest, and let yourself sink at last into the warm and quiet dark, held and carried and utterly at peace, drifting down as gently as those tiny shells toward the deep, still floor of sleep. And while all those tiny shells go drifting down through the dark, let me tell you about the biggest heart that has ever beaten anywhere on this earth. Far out in the open blue swims the blue whale, the largest animal that has ever lived, larger even than the greatest of the old dinosaurs. And tucked away inside that huge, gentle body is a heart the size of a small car, beating slow and steady and calm. When the whale is resting down in the deep, its heart can slow to just 2 soft beats in a whole minute, so slow and so quiet that you could hold your own breath between them. Think of that great heart, out there in the dark water, thumping so gently, so patiently, keeping its own unhurried time. There's no rush in it at all, just that long, slow, easy rhythm, on and on through the peaceful dark. Let your own heart soften toward that same slow calm now. No need to hurry, no need to race, just an easy, gentle beating, carrying you deeper down into rest. And far, far below, where anything of the day still reaches, in the very deepest hollow of the whole wide sea, there's a place so deep that if you were to lift the tallest mountain on all the land and set it down inside, the very peak of it would still be more than a mile beneath the waves. It's a long, quiet crack in the floor of the world. And down there, the water lies still and black and cold, under a weight you can hardly imagine. And yet even there, in that deepest and stillest of all places, there are small, soft creatures living out their gentle lives, drifting and settling in the dark as calm as anything. Nothing troubles them down there. No storm ever reaches them. No wind, no sound from the busy world above. It's the most peaceful room in the whole of creation, and it simply rests there, quiet and undisturbed, holding its deep, dark stillness the way it has for millions upon millions of years. Let a little of that same deep stillness settle into you now, that sense of being far, far below all the noise and the hurry, held safe in the quiet. Somewhere out in the middle waters, there swim great slow clouds of the tiniest creatures, small pale shrimp called krill, no longer than your fingertip. And they gather in their countless millions until the water itself seems to shimmer and turn a soft rosy pink for miles in every direction. They drift up toward the surface as the light fades, and they sink back down again as it returns, rising and falling with the day and the night. The whole enormous gentle cloud of them breathing in and out with the sea, so vast that it feeds the very largest whales, and yet made of such small and quiet lives. Picture that soft pink shimmer moving slowly through the dark water, rising as gently as mist off a pond in the early morning. Uncountable tiny travelers all drifting the same slow way together. There's a great peace in it, in all those little lives moving as one, asking nothing, hurrying nowhere, and running right through the warm heart of the ocean. There's a river inside the sea itself, a wide, warm current that gathers up the sunshine near the middle of the world and carries it slowly, slowly toward the colder shores far to the north, keeping whole countries gentle and green that would otherwise be locked in ice. It moves without banks and without edges, a soft, warm road of water winding through the cooler sea all around it, carrying its warmth thousands of kilometers, so slow and so steady that a single drop might take years to make the journey. Think of that quiet warmth traveling all that way through the dark, patient and faithful, warming the world as it goes, never hurrying, never stopping. Let that warmth travel through you now, easing along your arms and your legs, softening everything it touches, carrying you gently onward toward sleep, down in the deepest waters, where no glimmer of daylight has ever fallen. There swim the little lantern fish, the most numerous fish in all the world, more of them than we could ever hope to count. And each one carries its own soft row of gentle lights along its body, glowing the faintest blue-green in the endless dark. Every evening, as the sun leaves the surface far above, they rise up together through the water in the greatest quiet migration on the whole planet. Millions upon millions of them lifting slowly toward the shallows to feed under the cover of night. And every morning, they sink softly back down into the deep again. Twice each day, gently, without a sound, the deep sea breathes them up and breathes them down, their tiny lights drifting through the black water like slow, quiet stars. Imagine all those little lights rising and falling in the dark, patient and calm, keeping their soft rhythm night after night after night. And out in the open ocean, far from any land, there's a whale who sleeps the way you're drifting off to sleep right now, only he does it standing straight up in the water. The great sperm whale, the deepest diver of them all, will gather with a few of his companions and let himself rest with his huge, blunt head pointed up toward the surface, hanging there quite still in the blue, all of them floating upright together, like tall, quiet trees in a drowned and silent forest. They hardly move at all as they sleep, just hovering there in the calm water, taking their gentle rest in the middle of the sea. And then softly, they wake and rise and breathe and sink back down to rest once more. Picture those great gentle giants, resting so peacefully, so upright, and so still, in the quiet of the open water. There's nothing to disturb them out there, nothing at all, just the soft rocking of the sea and the deep, easy quiet. There's a soft thought I'd like to leave drifting beside you as you go. All across the floor of the ocean, hidden beneath the waves, there runs the longest mountain range in the whole world, far longer than any chain of mountains up on the land, winding its slow way for tens of thousands of kilometers all around the globe. like a great gentle seam stitched through the deep. Almost no one has ever seen it. And it lies down there in the dark, quiet and enormous and utterly at peace. Its slow peaks and valleys rolling on and on beneath the endless water. It doesn't need us to know it's there. It simply rests, the way you're resting now, vast and calm and unhurried in the dark, keeping its own quiet company through the long ages of the world. Let yourself be part of that same great stillness now. One more calm and quiet thing at rest in the peaceful dark. And in the warm, bright shallows, there lives the giant clam, a great soft creature nestled among the coral, wider across than your open arms, wrapped in a shell of gentle waves and ripples. And along the soft edge of it, there shimmer the loveliest colors, deep blues and greens and golds, glowing quietly in the sunlit water. It settles itself in one chosen spot when it's young, and there it stays, contentedly, for 100 years or more, never needing to wander, never needing to search, just resting in its one warm place, drinking in the soft light and letting the gentle water drift through it, growing slowly and quietly larger with the passing of the peaceful years. Imagine choosing one warm, safe place and simply being at rest there, with all the time in the world, nothing to chase and nowhere to go. Let yourself settle just like that now, into your own warm, safe place, wrapped up soft and easy, with nothing at all left to do. The night has grown deep and full around you now, and the sea is holding you as gently as it's held every quiet thing that ever drifted upon it. You floated tonight over meadows and forests and gardens in the dark, past the great slow whales and the tiny glowing travelers, over the deepest and stillest rooms of the world. And now, there's nothing left to do but let yourself go the rest of the way down, soft and slow, into sleep. In a little while, when this story gently comes to its end, you don't need to reach for anything or move at all. Just let the next quiet story drift in on its own and carry you onward, the way one soft wave follows another onto the shore, so that the gentle sound stays with you and the calm never has to break. Let it come to you all by itself, and simply keep on drifting. And if you found a little peace out here on the water tonight, and you'd like to come back and drift off this way again, you might gently follow along, so these calm and quiet journeys can find their way to you whenever you need them. There's no hurry to it, nothing to do now, just a soft, small thing you can carry into the morning whenever you happen to wake, easy and rested and warm. But that's all for later. For now, there's only this, the water beneath you, holding you up without the slightest effort, the soft dark all around, warm and safe and endless, the slow rise and fall of the sea, breathing you deeper and deeper down. Every creature we've drifted past tonight is resting now, out there in the gentle dark, and you're resting right along with them, held and carried and utterly at peace. Let the last of your thoughts drift away like foam on the water, dissolving softly into the quiet, until there's nothing left to hold and nothing left to do. Let your whole body grow heavy and warm and still, sinking down as gently as those tiny shells, down through the soft and welcoming dark, toward the deep, still floor of sleep. You're safe. You're warm. You're carried, and the sea will keep on rolling, slow and easy, all through the long and gentle night, whether you're awake to hear it or not. So let go now, all the way. Drift down into the quiet, Sink softly into the warm, dark water of sleep and let it hold you until morning. Rest now. Sleep now. Good night.